Chapter 373. If what she said was true, then there was a very good chance that the other two would become soul rings of the martial soul hall. Wang Feng couldn't accept that. If they didn't become soul rings, then the best-case scenario would be that they would be captured by the martial soul hall. Regardless of which scenario it was, it would be very difficult for him to resolve the situation. This meant that his trip to the martial soul hall would be extremely dangerous. Wang Feng suddenly thought of the system's check-in. There were no requirements to check in at the Pontiff Palace, and there would be additional rewards. These requirements were completely different from the previous 3 check-ins. Could it be that the system has also deduced this? Is it because it will be very dangerous for me to go to the Pontiff Palace? Is that why there are no additional conditions? Wang Feng thought about it in reverse before shaking his head. No matter how dangerous it was, he had to go. He had entered the competition as a 9-to-1 participant for another purpose. However, he didn't think that he would encounter something like this, and there were many variables in his plans. I only have 3 methods that I can use to harm a titled Douluo. After the conversation between Grandmaster and Wang Feng went off to cultivate on his own. The first method was to rely on the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus could kill regardless of one's cultivation level. To be honest, a titled Douluo had a lot of bad karma on them. Which titled Douluo didn't have over 100 lives on their bodies. Once they were infected by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, their combat prowess would be drastically reduced, even if they wouldn't die immediately. However, there was a very serious problem with this method. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus couldn't be used as a hidden weapon. Not everyone was as confident as Serene, who would allow himself to be burned by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, which normal titled Douluo would take his attack head-on. If it couldn't be used as a hidden weapon, then Wang Feng wouldn't be able to use the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Even if he were to succeed once and be discovered, it would be even more impossible for him to succeed a second time. The second method was to rely on the soul-slaying spear. Wang Feng was certain that even a titled Douluo wouldn't be able to completely heal the wounds inflicted by the soul-slaying spear. As long as a large number of wounds were inflicted, even a titled Douluo would die. However, by the same logic, it wouldn't be easy for a titled Douluo to injure a titled Doulu. As for Ming, he was quite large and straightforward, and he would fight head-on. That was why Wang Feng had been able to use the soul-slaying spear to deal a lot of damage to Ming the first time they had fought. But even so, with Ming's life force, he wouldn't die immediately. These were the 2 most effective ways that Wang Feng could kill a titled Doulu. However, none of them were easy. They were all very difficult to achieve. Even if he used the emptiness realm, it was still quite difficult. Furthermore, he couldn't achieve an instant kill. As for the last method, even the Pangu axe wouldn't be able to kill a titled Douluo instantly. Unless he reached rank 50 and used the Pangu axe, he would be able to kill a titled Douluo with a single blow. Furthermore, the titled Douluo's soul power wasn't very high. Right now, the Pangu axe could only injure a titled Douluo, and it would expend a lot of energy. Perhaps I can combine the 2. In order to prepare for the trip to the Martial Spirit Palace, Wang Feng had racked his brains for 2 days. Finally, he thought of a solution. If I can infuse the mysterious underworld spike with the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, even a titled Douluo won't be able to dodge it. Wang Feng thought of combining the karmic fire of the Red Lotus with the mysterious underworld spike. The mysterious underworld spike was a powerful weapon that wasn't inferior to Little Three's hidden weapons. In fact, it was even more powerful. Its ability to pierce through defenses was even more terrifying. If the hair-thin mysterious underworld spike were to be infused with the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, it would be extremely harmful to powerful beings with extremely high soul power. Most importantly, it would be able to attack a titled Douluo. This method wasn't perfect, but it would give Wang Feng an opportunity to attack a titled Douluo. By combining the mysterious underworld spike with the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, he would be able to injure a titled Douluo using the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Sigh. What's wrong with me? Why am I thinking about killing a titled Douluo? After thinking for 2 days, Wang Feng was feeling rather gloomy. However, he had thought of a solution that made Wang Fengxin feel a lot better. By the way, I remember that little 3 seems to be in low spirits. I wonder how he's doing? Wang Feng seemed to have thought of something. He walked towards the small wooden hut outside the forest where Lu Erlong had stayed. Losing to Skywater Academy must have been a big blow to them, especially Tang San. However, when Wang Feng arrived at the small wooden hut, he didn't see the disheartened Tang San. Tang San was practicing his blue-silver grass. His mood was very stable. It's different from what I thought. Wang Feng looked at Tang San in surprise. At this moment, Tang San was practicing the distraction control skill. He had already reached the 4th aperture realm and could control 4 blue-silver grass at the same time to do different things. When he saw Wang Feng, he was stunned. Big brother Feng, why are you here? Tang San withdrew his blue-silver grass and walked over. I heard from Master that you were in low spirits 2 days ago. I thought I'd come to see how you're doing. Wang Feng glanced at him and found that Tang San had just finished practicing. He was in high spirits and didn't seem to be in low spirits at all. I thought there was something wrong, Tang San smiled. When I came back that day, I was indeed a bit depressed, because I had always thought that I was at the top of my peers like them, the most powerful. Even my soul rings were the strongest except for you, Big Brother Feng. But I didn't expect to meet so many strong opponents in the qualifiers. At this point, Tang San sighed. Not to mention 9-1, even Skywater Academy defeated us. Moreover, Shui Bing didn't even use her 4th soul skill when she fought against us. In that icy environment, I couldn't find any way to break through. I could only watch as my teammates lost their fighting strength one by one. In the end, even I was defeated. I was really disappointed at that time. It wasn't until then that I suddenly remembered that my blue-silver grass was just a trash martial soul. Tang San shook his head gently. No matter how strong your soul ring is, it won't change. Wang Feng nodded. There's a term called the wooden bucket effect. That is to say, how much water a wooden bucket can hold doesn't depend on its longest board, but on its shortest board. With that, Wang Feng pointed to the wooden bucket in the vegetable garden outside the wooden house. However, little San, your blue-silver grass is the blue-silver emperor, Wang Fengxin secretly said. Tang San was stunned. That's the reason. My blue-silver grass is inherently too weak. No matter how strong my soul ring is, it can't make up for the huge gap between it and a high-quality martial soul. So after that battle, I was very depressed and discouraged. I even wanted to cultivate my 2nd martial soul. You know Big Brother Feng, right? My 2nd martial soul is the clear sky hammer. At least this is the powerful martial soul my father gave me. But after thinking about it for 2 days, I didn't choose to do so, because my teacher advised me to wait until I reached rank 70 or 80 to cultivate it. At that time, it would be more useful. But at that time I was very hesitant, so what? Wang Feng asked. Tang San clenched his fists, his face brimming with excitement. So, I turned the pain into motivation and continued to cultivate. End of chapter. Chapter 374. Wang Feng. You're full of vitality. It's very different from what I imagined. Wang Feng was stunned. He didn't expect Xiao San to be like this. Brother Feng, don't be surprised. Tang San said with a smile, since a few years ago, Xiao Wu and I have been competing with you. We almost never won. Even after we joined the Shrek Academy, the 7 of us have never defeated you. We've failed many times. These 2 days, whenever I'm hesitating in pain, I think we've failed so many times, What's there to be sad about? As usual, after being defeated by you, we'll just pull ourselves together and it'll be over, right? I also believe that no matter how weak the blue silver grass is, it will become powerful sooner or later. Wang Feng. It seems to make sense. Wang Feng looked at Tang San, who was full of vitality, and sighed deeply in his heart. It seemed that they had changed a lot. For a moment, Wang Feng was speechless. Ha 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 ha, little monster, well said. At this time, a familiar laughter sounded. I haven't seen you for a few months, little monster, I didn't expect you to become more vigorous. As soon as the laughter sounded, the two laughed and knew who it was. Dogu Bo. The last time was a few months ago. After Dogu Bo and Dogu Yen were detoxified by Tang San, he left the academy. No one knew what he was doing. A green light flashed and Dogu Bo's figure slowly appeared in the distance. After a few months, Dogu Bo's complexion was much better. His green hair, due to the poison in his body, had become black and beautiful. His face was rosy, and his eyes were shining brightly. Old poison! Tang San was surprised. Why are you back? Where have you been all this time? Dogu Bo smiled and didn't say anything. He walked in front of the two, pressed their shoulders, and used his soul power to sense them. Good guy, you've improved so fast? It seems that you haven't slacked off in the past 6 months. More than half a year ago, he remembered that when the two walked out of the Icefire Yin-Yang well, they hadn't reached level 40 yet. After that, Dogu Bo pointed to the room and said with a smile, Come, let's not talk about other things first. Let's play a game of landlord first. These days I've been bored. Wang Feng, are you addicted to it? The three of them walked into the house, and Dogu Bo took out his cards. The cards were already a little wrinkled. It was obvious that Dogu Bo had been playing a lot these days. The three of them chatted as they played. While Dogu Bo had been away, he had actually been fighting with an old opponent. However, looking at his ruddy complexion and glowing spirit, he must have won. Wang Fengxin snickered inwardly. Dogu Bo had obtained Tang San's soul-chasing mother-child courage, and had even consumed that immortal herb. If he still couldn't win, there was no point in living anymore. That fellow, he has been suppressed by me all this time. The immortal grass that little lunatic gave me is too useful. The stronger it is, the stronger it will be, allowing my poison arts to reach a higher level. My body is even more poisonous than before, but I am not affected at all. Maybe I really have the poisonous body that little lunatic spoke of. Dogu Bo laughed heartily and said, There's also that mother-son soul-chasing guts. When I used it, that old thing was beaten up like a dog and ran away. It really made me feel relieved all these years. Wait, King Bomb. Dogu Bo slammed the cards in his hand on the table with a bang. Why did you bomb me again? Wang Feng glanced at him. I'm not the landlord. Dogu Bo was stunned and smiled embarrassedly. I'm used to it. When I have 2 kings in hand, I want to bomb. Cough, cough, can I take them back? Wang Fengxin was speechless. This old poison, his nature hasn't changed at all. When he has bombs, he can't hold it in and just randomly bombs. It's really a good hand of cards that has been ruined. The power of the soul-chasing guts is unleashed by your soul power, old monster. Naturally, a titled Douluo will be at a disadvantage. Tang San smiled and seemed to have thought of something. Unfortunately, hidden weapons are not allowed in the competition. At this point, Tang San felt a little regretful. You can't use hidden weapons, but you can combine it with your blue-silver grass. Wang Feng casually said, If it's used on your blue-silver grass, others will only think that it's the ability of your martial soul. They won't be able to find any weakness. After saying that, Tang San was suddenly stunned. Then, he clapped his hands and said excitedly, I was just saying that I seem to have forgotten something during these 2 days of cultivation. That's right. I can combine the blue-silver grass and hidden weapons. Wang Feng shook his head. He could combine the mysterious underworld spike and the red lotus karmic fire. Hidden weapons were forbidden in the competition, so naturally, he could combine them with the blue-silver grass. There was nothing to say if it was the ability of the blue-silver grass itself or the ability of the soul ring. Even if he didn't mention it, with Little Sand's intelligence, he would soon think of it. By the way, speaking of the competition, I'm afraid you have to be careful this time. At this time, Douluo suddenly put down his cards and looked a little serious. Wang Fengxian was moved. After Tang San's excitement, he directly asked, "Old Poison, do you know something?" Douluo nodded solemnly. "Do you know what the Martial Spirit Palace's reward is this time? For soul bones. I think you all know what a soul bone means. The Martial Spirit Palace's reward this time, 2 of them are because of the death of an elder, and the other 2 are reserved by the Martial Spirit Palace." Hearing this, Tang San couldn't help but take a breath. For soul bones. One had to know that the preciousness of a soul bone was enough to make all the major forces fight for it. Not to mention the reward is so good. Old Poison, you mean our opponents are very strong? Tang San seemed to understand something. Yes. Douluo nodded. Your opponents are indeed very strong. As far as I know, the seeded team sent by the Martial Spirit Palace this time is the strongest in history. Even the Pope thinks they are the golden generation of the Martial Spirit Palace. There are a total of 3 people, only about 22 years old, but each of them is at rank 55. The quality of their martial souls is the best. Rank 55. Hearing this level, Wang Feng was slightly stunned. Above rank 50, the progress of a soul master would be much slower. At the age of 22, to be able to reach rank 55, his talent was stronger than Qin Mingheng's. He would definitely be a titled Douluo in the future. The most important thing shouldn't be this, right? Wang Feng said, for soul bones. Since the Martial Spirit Palace dares to give out such a generous reward, how can they let outsiders get it? If we don't stand on the side of the Martial Spirit Palace, I'm afraid the possibility of getting these 4 soul bones is very low, and we will be targeted by the Martial Spirit Palace. In the original work, Wang Feng remembered that because of this reason, when Tang San and his team went to the Martial Spirit Palace to participate in the finals, they were assassinated by the Martial Spirit Palace. This time, the Martial Spirit Palace had caused such a big commotion. The Martial Spirit Palace was probably now discussing how to get rid of them. Not to mention Tang San, Wang Feng, who had only fought twice, would be the target. End of this chapter. Chapter 375. As expected of Little Lunatic. You're right. Douluo's expression was solemn. I inquired about Heaven Do City when I came back. I know about Shrek Academy's performance. To be honest, Little Lunatic, you're much more dangerous than Tang San and the others. Little monster, although your 4th soul ring is a 10,000-year soul ring. But with your 2 performances in the competition, it's too scary. Yes, although Wang Feng only fought twice, in terms of danger, as long as the Martial Spirit Hall was not stupid, they could see that he would be Shrek Academy's biggest trump card. But in fact, you're very lucky this time. Because if the Martial Spirit Hall wants to make a move, the first to deal with is not you. Douluo whispered, it's 9 openings. This person is too dazzling, too eye-catching, and too terrifying. The Martial Spirit Hall will not allow such a variable to enter the finals. Tang San nodded silently. The impact of the Heaven Do City qualifiers had spread. At this time, the other 5 teams that were going to participate in the qualifiers, or the Martial Spirit Hall, would definitely have detailed information about 9 openings. The Shrek Academy would also have information about him. But only Wang Fengxian thought to himself, I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with him. He used the token given by Qian Rinxue to force Bishop Salas to retreat, so he will definitely report this matter to the main hall and even the Pope. Wang Feng guessed that in the Martial Spirit Hall, the Elders' Hall and the Pope had a mutually restrictive relationship, especially Qian Rinxue's grandfather. The Pope's relationship with this person was not good. If he knew that 9 openings was on Qian Rinchue's grandfather's side, with the Pope's hatred for the Qian family, he might even kill him. Bishop Salas did not know these secrets, so he was scared away by the token, but the Pope would not be scared. So, I suggest you don't compete for the championship. Douluo shuffled the cards and put them back in his pocket. In addition to the strong opponents you will face, the martial spirit hall is also a huge threat. You are still young, so you can wait for the next round. Wait, my ass! Wang Feng said, life is still young. Why wait? I'm not waiting. Douluo was speechless. Old monster, you underestimate us too much. Tang San also said solemnly, you want the monsters of the Shrek Academy to retreat when they encounter a little difficulty? Then we wouldn't be considered monsters. Martial Spirit Palace? So what? We beat their team fair and square. Does the Martial Spirit Palace dare to kill us all? If the Martial Spirit Palace dares to do that, they are digging their own graves. Tang San was right. If the Martial Spirit Palace dared to attack them, they would lose their reputation on the continent, and might even suffer a disastrous decline. As for what tricks they might play during the competition, we're not afraid. Tang San said with a smile, if we don't even have the ability to face this kind of situation, then we don't have the qualifications to fight for the championship. Of course, I know that the Golden Generation is indeed very strong and we can't compare to them. But there's still Big Brother Feng. Wang Feng was speechless. Although Little Madman has 2 10,000-year soul rings, he can't do it. The Golden Generation of the Martial Spirit Palace is different. Douluo thought for a moment and said, unless he reaches rank 50, then it's possible. When Wang Feng was cultivating in the Icefire Yin-Yang well, Douluo also knew about Wang Feng's 3 soul rings. But he didn't know about the 4th one. Not 2, but 3. Tang San said with a smile, Big Brother Feng is rank 45 and already has his 4th soul ring. It's also a 10,000-year soul ring, but Big Brother Feng is more mysterious. He said that he will tell us after we go to the main hall to participate in the finals. 3. Douluo was startled. 3 10,000-year soul rings. It seems that we have a chance to fight. Not 3 but 4. Wang Fengxin secretly thought. His soul rings had all turned black. It was just that they hadn't been completely revealed yet. But they would definitely be revealed in the finals of the main hall. That's why, old monster, have some confidence in us. Tang San thought for a moment and said, actually, the one I want to meet the most in the finals is not the Golden Generation, but the 9-to-1 odds. We want to see the effect of the 7 of us going up against him. But we will only know when the time comes. Douluo didn't say anything. He came back not only to check on the 2 of them, but also to give them a reminder. Since they already had a plan, he wouldn't say anything more. He naturally supported them. A month passed very quickly. Especially during high-intensity training, time passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, Wang Feng had been practicing controlling the mysterious underworld spike. In terms of soul power, the increase was very small. But Wang Feng could control most of the mysterious underworld spike on the mysterious underworld armor with the help of the Black Hoop's spiritual skull. More than 10,000 mysterious underworld spike. According to Wang Feng's plan, under normal circumstances, he would only be able to control so many mysterious underworld spikes when he was at rank 50 or 60. However, with the help of the Black Hoop's spiritual skull, his spiritual power was greatly enhanced, and his control of soul power was more precise. That was why he could do it. But the mysterious underworld spike on the mysterious underworld armor couldn't be completely controlled, because it was constantly growing. External soul bones had the ability to grow. As the weight of the soul bone increased, the number of mysterious underworld spikes would naturally increase too. Apart from that, Wang Feng also practiced attaching his red lotus karmic fire to the mysterious underworld spike. He could do it, because the karmic fire could only be controlled by soul power. It wouldn't be extinguished. As long as it was attached to the mysterious underworld spike, it would shoot out like a faint tongue of fire. It was impossible to guard against. Once it hit, Wang Feng wasn't too sure about the effect. No titled Douluo had let him try it because it was too dangerous. Because of this, Wang Feng gave this move a name: Mysterious Underworld Karmic Fire Spike. It was simple and easy to remember. Wang Feng felt that this name was very good. A month later, in the Academy Plaza. Tomorrow is the qualifier round. Grandmaster and the other teachers placed their hands behind their backs as they looked at the rows of 10 people. Over the past month, you haven't slacked on your training. Under Teacher Erlong's guidance, all of you have improved significantly. Today is the last day and also the day of the assessment. All of you will be facing a special opponent. Everyone lifted their heads when they heard this. There was a curious look in their eyes. Over the past month, they had been tortured by Lu Erlong. Apart from their normal training, they had to fight Lu Erlong. Lu Erlong didn't go easy on them. She immediately activated her martial soul true body and beat the 7 of them up. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be difficult for the 7 of them to defeat Lu Erlong if she didn't activate her martial soul true body. However, if Lu Erlong activated her martial soul true body, it would be very difficult for them to win. Even Tang San, who was immune to fire, would find it difficult to resist. End of this chapter. Chapter 376. What opponent? Is it Brother Feng? Xiao Wu blinked. Although he has been supervising our training for the past month, he has only been observing and hasn't really fought with us. He also didn't participate in our matches with Teacher Erlong and is often not around. In the past month, Wang Feng had spent most of his time cultivating the mysterious underworld karmic fire thrust and would occasionally come to watch their training. The 7 of them had always been curious about Wang Feng's 4th soul ring and wanted to fight it, but they never had the chance. Little Feng has something on and hasn't been around for the past 2 days. The opponent you will be facing today is my friend, a 6-ringed soul emperor. The Grandmaster said plainly and pointed into the distance. Unknowingly, a white silhouette had appeared in the distance and was slowly walking over. White robe, black mask. After 2 months, they were all stunned to see this 6-ringed soul emperor again. Shrek's 7 monsters were still alright, but Tinan and the other 3 substitutes were a little confused because they had never seen him before. He will be fighting with you in this match. There are no requirements for victory or defeat. Just fight as long as you can. The Grandmaster continued, however, it will be an individual battle because the advancement match you will be facing will be an individual battle. Alright, you guys go up first. Who will go first? Hearing this, the Master was standing next to Lu Erlong. Individual battle? Are the 11 of us going up against one person consecutively? Tinan scratched his head. Isn't this a little unfair? Even if he is a 6-ringed soul emperor, he won't be able to hold on, right? Even if there are 3 auxiliary-type soul masters. Jingling, Huang Yuan, and Jiang Zhu also felt a little strange. Only the 7 of them looked at each other. Grandmaster, I'm an auxiliary-type soul master. I want to go up too. At this moment, Ning Rongrong suddenly giggled. I want to spar with this 6-ringed soul emperor too. Can I? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. You're an auxiliary-type soul master. Why are you going up? To be beaten up? Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Ning Rongrong and frowned slightly. She felt that something was wrong. This depends on you guys. The master frowned. However, I suggest that you don't act recklessly. He won't show any mercy. Then it's fine. Ning Rongrong's ability to understand was superb. Grandmaster. Wang Feng felt a little speechless. Although Ning Rongrong didn't admit anything that night, she probably already believed that Wang Feng was the 6-ringed soul emperor. Did he think that I would be merciful? Was that why he said such words? Soon, everyone came to an agreement. Wang Feng stood in the corner of the square, his white robe fluttering in the wind. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking like a peerless master. The first to go up was Tai Long. With the help of the Herculean gorilla, he immediately activated his martial spirit possession and rushed toward Wang Feng. "Senior, be careful." Tai Long's body swelled, and his 3 soul rings lit up. He was like a real gorilla, and the ground trembled slightly with every step he took. His soul skills all amplified his strength. At rank 38, even Dai Mubai's strength wouldn't surpass his. Looking at Tai Long, who was charging at him, Wang Feng did not say a word and directly sent him flying out of the ring with a punch. Everyone was speechless. Following this, Wang Feng shook his hand and said hoarsely, "When you face an opponent who is stronger than you in an individual battle, don't try to use brute force. He's the best example. Remember, this is a tag team battle. In an individual battle, soul power is the most important. Remember, I'm stronger than all of you. If you want to beat me, you have to make me take the initiative to attack. You have to hold me back. The more soul power I use, the higher your chances of winning." Tai Long stood up in a daze, and his mind was still a little dazed. As for Wang Feng's words, they finally understood a little. Soon, Jingling went up. His martial soul was a skeleton, but he was smarter this time. He didn't attack Wang Feng after he used his martial spirit possession. Instead, he dodged. It was a pity that he was an agility-type soul master. He only managed to escape for 5 seconds before Wang Feng caught up and kicked him out. However, Jing Ling's battle made everyone more aware of the fighting style of this individual battle. The third person was Huang Yuan. His martial soul was Lone Wolf. He lasted for about 5 seconds before he was kicked out by Wang Feng. "Very good. Now you know how to fight against an opponent who is stronger than you." Wang Feng looked at the remaining Shrek's 7 monsters. "Next, I'll use the same level of soul power as each of you and see what you're lacking in the individual battle." Hearing this, the eyes of Shrek's 7 monsters lit up. If they used the same level of soul power and similar physical attributes, they would be able to fight. After all, the 7 of them knew how strong this 6-ringed Soul Emperor was. The first person to go up was Dai Mubai. After consuming the singular velvet sky chrysanthemum, his martial soul and physical strength were far superior to those of the same level. "Senior, please be gentle. I have a date later." Dai Mubai coughed a few times and said softly. "Wang Feng." She recalled that Dai Mubai and Tianshui Academy's Shui Yur had been very close to each other for the past month. Although they didn't have much time together, they were glued to each other every time. However, Wang Feng didn't go easy on him. After Dai Mubai's martial soul entered his body, Wang Feng rushed over and fought him. As Wang Feng controlled his strength and only used the strength of a rank 45 assault-type soul master, the fight took a while. However, the result was still Dai Mubai's defeat. If I were a rank 45 assault-type soul master, I would have at least 20% of my soul power left. You would have lost in the individual battle. Wang Feng said slowly. "Do you know why?" Wang Feng had only used the strength of a rank 45 soul master. He hadn't used anything else. Dai Mubai frowned and shook his head. He had fought normally just now. He had even used his soul skills. He had even forced his opponent into a corner and used his white tiger meteor shower to hit him. The reason is very simple. Your soul skills are too wasteful. Wang Feng looked at everyone. Your white tiger shield protects your entire body. Although it's very good, it wastes too much soul power. If I only hit a certain part of your body, such as your back or your chest, you would activate the white tiger's protective cover to defend yourself. Every time you activate it, your soul power will be greatly depleted. Therefore, you have to concentrate the defensive abilities of your white tiger shield on a certain part of your body. Wang Feng continued, "You don't have to use it on your entire body. This can save a lot of soul power, and it can also achieve defensive effect. After a fight, you can save 10 to 20% of your soul power. After hearing this, Dai Mubai's eyes lit up. Everyone was astonished. They hadn't thought of this. In the individual battle, if you're facing an opponent of the same strength, soul power is the most important. Soul power is the most important. To put it simply, whoever can last longer will win. Wang Feng said slowly, therefore you have to control your soul skills. You have to think about how to save every bit of soul power in your 4 soul skills. This is what you should do when you're facing an opponent of similar strength. Everyone was slightly enlightened. It wasn't that they hadn't thought about saving soul power in a fight. However, when it was used in soul skills, one would need to have a deeper understanding of soul skills. Furthermore, soul power wasn't something that couldn't be changed. Although it was difficult to create a soul skill, it wasn't impossible to change it based on the original foundation. Following this, Wang Feng started to fight with the remaining people one by one at night. End of chapter. Chapter 377. Wang Feng fought Xiao Wu and Ma Hongjun one after another. Xiao Wu had already reached rank 40, and was planning to obtain a soul ring after the advancement round. Xiao Wu had the least problems out of all of them, because her skills were very simple. They were purely a solo combo. In a solo fight, if Dai Mubai didn't activate his 4th soul ring, he might not be able to beat Xiao Wu. On the other hand, Ma Hongjuan's soul skills were similar to Dai Mubai's. They could conserve soul power in many ways. The simplest way was to reduce the area of control and reduce the consumption of soul power. Wang Feng had mentioned this to Ma Hongjun before. Whether it was the Phoenix Fireline or the Phoenix Skywhistle, they could reduce the area of control and conserve soul power. They fought one by one until they reached Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing's solo fighting strength was stronger than Xiao Wu's. If they fought at night, Zhu Zhuqing's strength would increase tremendously. Wang Feng, with his normal rank 41 soul power and physical fitness, had fought with Zhu Zhuqing for the longest time. Xiao Wu was second. This was because Xiao Wu's soul skills consumed less soul power than Dai Mubai's. Zhu Zhuqing was second. Your Dark Moon Elf still has a lot of potential that it hasn't unleashed yet. After the fight, Wang Feng said in detail, a martial soul mutation isn't that simple. Think about that day. Although her 4th soul ring was very strong, it was still because of her martial soul. Your 4th soul skill can split into 4 clones. Each clone has its own strength and can even use soul skills. However, the consumption of soul power is the same. Zhu Zhuqing's 4th soul skill was the Dark Moon Shadow clone. It could split into multiple clones. Each clone had a certain amount of the original's strength. However, if the clones disappeared, they would consume a lot of soul power. The clones could also use soul skills, which was very powerful. However, the consumption of soul power was the same as the originals. If it's a one-on-one battle, you can only control one Serene Moon Shadow doppelganger and concentrate on controlling one doppelganger. Furthermore, it's best to release it when you're attacking and not before. If you were to suddenly release your doppelganger when you were attacking me with Nether Stab, it would have caused effective damage to me. Wang Feng said slowly, you didn't release your doppelgangers right from the start and attack me. Although it seems like you have 3 doppelgangers and can confuse the enemy, there are differences between doppelgangers and the original body. It can't be truly the same. It's fine to deal with ordinary soul masters, but the teams that can enter the promotion round are not weak. There are ways to distinguish them. Furthermore, we can save a lot of soul power if we only split one. If it's against an enemy of the same level, there's no difference between 3 and 4 clones. Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently and walked down from one end of the square. Then there was Tang San. Tang San didn't have any shortcomings. He had the Tang Sect's martial skills, and his blue-silver grass had the support of a 10,000-year soul ring. Although his martial soul seemed to be trash, It was actually the strongest in a one-on-one fight. The only downside was that it was afraid of flying-type opponents and couldn't hit them with blue-silver grass. But this wasn't a downside. Those who couldn't fly all had this problem. After speaking, only Oscar and Ning Rongrong were left. They were both support-type soul masters, so Oscar naturally couldn't fight. Hee, I want to fight. Ning Rongrong walked charmingly to the square. Wang Feng. After a moment of silence, Wang Feng said hoarsely, "Okay. Then I'm coming." Ning Rongrong turned her hand and the 9 treasures star-glazed pagoda appeared. Then, she added 3 buffs to herself. Wang Feng didn't stop her and just watched quietly. 9 treasures star. One day. Watch out. Ning Rongrong's incantation was halfway through when her wrist suddenly shook and 3 cold sharp blades shot out. Wang Feng moved at lightning speed and easily caught them. These hidden weapons didn't have any chance of hitting him. Hidden weapons aren't allowed in a one-on-one fight. You've already lost, Wang Feng said. Because they were fighting according to the standard of the promotion round. I don't care. Ning Rongrong ran towards Wang Feng. Her speed was actually very fast. She had been training for almost 2 years, so her physique wasn't bad. Furthermore, the 9 treasures star-glazed pagoda's buffs were very exaggerated. This was also why Ning Rongrong hadn't fought in the qualifiers. With this buff, Tang San's fighting strength would increase by a level almost instantly. They could crush opponents of the same level. Similarly, after Wang Feng's advice, Ning Rongrong's distraction control technique had reached the 4th acupoint after the qualifiers. She was close to the 5th acupoint. If not for the fact that her 9 treasures star-glazed pagoda only had 4 buffs, she might have reached the 5th acupoint already. The 5th acupoint could give 5 different buffs to 5 people at the same time. She only had 4 buffs now. Seeing Ning Rongrong acting so shamelessly, everyone fell silent. They felt a little embarrassed. Rongrong is so shameless. Xiaowu couldn't help but whisper. When we fought against Big Brother Feng, did you also have this kind of situation? Tang San said with a smile. Brother. Xiaowu's face turned red. She walked over and pinched his waist. Don't talk about these embarrassing things. Tang San. She doesn't seem to be fast enough. Jiang Zhu said in surprise. Isn't Rongrong an auxiliary-type soul master? Her martial soul has mutated, and her body has part of the power of the stars. Her physique isn't bad. With the buffs of 4 attributes, she's not weak. She also learned some fighting skills from Zhu Qing. A normal rank 20 or 30 soul master might not be able to defeat her now. Xiao Wu shook her head with a smile. But if she rushes over like this, I'm afraid she'll be slapped away by this senior. Yes. Seeing Ning Rongrong rushing over so unscrupulously, Wang Feng didn't even think about it and directly slapped her. Unexpectedly, Ning Rongrong seemed to know that Wang Feng would do that. She suddenly changed her position. Wang Feng's slap was aimed at Ning Rongrong's shoulder. Ning Rongrong's sudden change made her face the target of Wang Feng's slap. Ning Rongrong even closed her eyes and raised her head. Her face seemed to say, "Hit me then." If Wang Feng slapped her, her face would probably be swollen. Wang Feng's mouth twitched. When he was a few centimeters away from Ning Rongrong's face, he suddenly withdrew his hand. Ning Rongrong opened her eyes and looked at Wang Feng happily. "Humph, I knew you couldn't bear to hit me." But at this moment Wang Feng's figure flashed. He stretched out his leg and kicked Ning Rongrong's back. "Ouch!" Ning Rongrong exclaimed. The huge force sent Ning Rongrong flying. She fell to the ground and fell on her face. Everyone, although it felt weird, they tried to stifle their laughter. Even Master Lien and Lu Erlong coughed a few times. They clearly saw the situation just now. End of chapter. Chapter 378. This is a typical case of overestimating oneself. Wang Feng said indifferently, "Well, today's battle will end here. I still have things to do, so I'll leave first." With that, Wang Feng walked out of the academy. Rongrong, are you okay? With a smile on her face, Xiao Wu hurriedly walked over and helped Ning Rongrong up. Seeing that her snow-white face was stained with dust and looked like a little piggy, she couldn't help but laugh. How could he kick me? Ning Rongrong said angrily. Who asked you, an auxiliary-type soul master, to join in the fun? Xiao Wu said snappily, he didn't hit you. It's already very good that he only kicked you. Look at the others, they were directly sent flying with a slap. I just wanted to go up and play. Ning Rongrong touched the dust on her face and said with a smile. She wasn't so delicate. However, Ning Rongrong thought in her heart, Wang Feng is too bad. He obviously couldn't bear to hit me, but he still kicked me. Are you afraid that others will see through it? As long as I don't say it, no one will guess it at all. Zhu Zhuqing, on the other hand, was watching from the side. Her eyes flashed with a special light. She seemed to have realized something. The next day, the promotion round officially began. Similarly, Wang Feng would not participate in the promotion round on behalf of Shrek. This was the master's decision, unless there was an accident. Compared to the preliminaries, the promotion round was much calmer. Because it was held in the royal hunting ground outside Heaven-Do City, it was for efficient battles. In this battle environment, one's strength could be maximized. Naturally, it was impossible to fight in the Great Soul Arena. A total of 15 academies from the Heaven-Do Empire had qualified, and they were going to fight in the promotion round. The fighting style was somewhat different from the preliminaries. Although it was still one team against one team every day, the competition style was that individuals took turns to fight. When the people from Shrek Academy arrived at the royal hunting ground, the representatives of the other 5 duchies had already arrived. They had rushed over from their own kingdoms to gather information about the 5 teams that had appeared in the Heaven-Do Empire. After all, the 5 grand duchies and kingdoms were all very far away from Heaven-Do City. If he wanted to know the details of each team, he would have to gather information about the Heaven-Do City qualifiers. Similarly, on this day, Wang Feng and Dean Feiluan came with their 9-to-1 odds. Because it was an individual battle, there was no need for the rest of the team to come. You have to fight 7 people in a row in a day. If you have a substitute, it will be even more. Dean Feirun pondered for a moment before reminding Tang Wulin, some teams must have studied you before. If they're just trying to stall for time and exhaust your soul power right from the start, they won't be able to last for 7 consecutive rounds. However, the promotion competition only determines the ranking of the participants in the finals. If you can admit defeat, that's fine too. If they lost in the qualifying round, they would only have a harder time in the finals. A tag team battle was more troublesome than a team battle. In the team battle, all 7 of them would be on the field at the same time, so they could deal with it together. However, taking turns to fight one by one, and there were also substitutes, which was very tiring. Wang Feng didn't reply. To him, it was all the same. The 2 of them walked into the royal hunting ground. A large captain of the Royal Knights came to check the letter before sending someone to settle Wang Feng down in a house in the hunting ground. He would be here for the next 15 days. At this moment, there were already teams in the hunting ground. They were all dressed differently because they were from the Heaven-Do Empire's royal academies. Wang Feng sensed that most of them weren't very strong. Apart from the 5 elemental academies, there were less than 30 people above rank 40 in the 15 teams. Every team only had 2 or 3 people, while the stronger ones had 4 or so. I've done my research for you. Apart from the 4 teams in the Heaven-Do City competition zone, there are only 3 other teams in the Heaven-Do Empire's 15 teams. There are only about 3 other strong teams, Dean Feirun said. The Brutal Blood Academy, the Exotic Beast Academy, and the Umbra Academy. Among them, the most troublesome is the Umbra Academy. The strongest person in this academy isn't very strong, only rank 42. However, his martial soul is the Shadow Demon, a special martial soul. It can even attack under the sun. Even if it doesn't attack, it can be used to hide and stall for time. It's very difficult to deal with. The second is the Brutal Blood Academy. This is a family academy in the duchy. If you want to enter this academy, you need to have a special bloodline. Their martial souls are mainly violent and powerful beast martial souls. Their battle strength is very shocking and they have super explosive power. They can even use their martial souls to activate their special bloodlines and achieve a huge amplification effect as an auxiliary type soul master. The Exotic Beast Academy refers to all kinds of strange beast martial souls, such as snakes, shrews, and centipedes. Their attacks often contain all kinds of poison, fire poison, cold poison, and even the extremely strange cough aphrodisiac. In any case, it's very troublesome. Dean Pharaon had done his best to gather so much information. Unfortunately, Wang Feng roughly understood the situation with a sweep of his perception. 9-1. Are you really alone? As he walked, a group of fiery figures walked in front of him. The one who spoke was Huo Wuxuang. The 6 members behind him were all looking at Wang Feng. I didn't expect you to be alone in the advancement competition. Then you have to be careful. Huo Wuxuang looked at Wang Feng indifferently. You have to fight more than 7 people in the advancement competition. Behind him, Huo Wu's eyes were burning with a fierce flame. We will defeat you and Shrek Academy. 7? Wang Feng laughed hoarsely. With people like you, even 70 of them are smelly. Halfway through, Wang Feng felt a little bored. He ignored them and walked away. Wang Feng didn't care about the advancement competition. He was now thinking about the finals and going to the Martial Soul Great Hall. When he was about to reach the designated room, he saw the people from Skywater Academy. 9-1, thank you again. Shui Bing'er bowed to Wang Feng in a very formal manner. The day before yesterday, she went to Purple Star College to find 9-1 as promised. Wang Feng asked her to close her eyes and then use the power of the Golden Lotus to help her solve the problem of her 4th soul skill. Nothing unexpected happened. Although Shui Bing'er was extremely shocked, she obediently closed her eyes and didn't know what was going on. Not long after, she felt that her soul had calmed down a lot. Yaya's consciousness in her skull also quieted down. 9-1 didn't say anything, as if he didn't know her. What a strange person. Shui Bing'er was a little curious. The only thing she felt about 9-1 was that he was strange. His actions were strange, his style was strange, his strength was strange, and his fighting talent was incomparably admirable. End of chapter. Chapter 379. Not long after, the 15 teams gathered and went to the training field in the middle of the hunting ground to draw lots for the competition. The Snowy Knight Emperor, Bishop Sakas, and Ning Fengji sat at the front. The 15 teams drew lots to fight one-on-one. One team would have a bye. If they were lucky, they could continue to have a bye. The first match that the Purple Star Academy drew was, unfortunately, the Blazing Fire Academy. There were no red tape in the advancement competition. All kinds of cumbersome ceremonies were removed. Once the teams were drawn, the competition would begin. It was completely for the sake of the competition. A ring had already been set up in the training field. It was not inferior to the Great Soul Arena. Purple Star College was the last team to fight. Wang Feng quietly watched the first few teams fight. Little Three's team fought against the Balak Kingdom's team. They were defeated by Xiao Wu and then admitted defeat. There was a soul master who used Sunflower. He thought he could use the characteristics of his martial soul to poison Xiao Wu, but he was countered by Xiao Wu's yearning broken sausage and was defeated in a few moves. Some people even thought that Xiao Wu also had a soul bone that could counter this poisonous plant martial soul. The yearning broken sausage was a special immortal herb in the Icefire Yin Yang Eye. It did have some such abilities. It was carried by Xiao Wu and had a miraculous effect on all kinds of flower-type martial souls. Wang Feng also saw Meng Yiran from the exotic beast team. She was the girl whose skin was cut by him with a leaf in the Great Star Do forest. He wondered if she met Tang San and the others later. However, Meng Yiran seemed to have changed a lot. Her soul power had reached rank 41, and she had a 4th soul ring. She also fought against a weaker team. Moreover, Meng Yiran was the vice-captain of the exotic beast team. Wang Feng looked at her and found that Meng Yiran was quite strong. She was not much weaker than the main team of the Heaven Do City's Elemental Academy. He reckoned that the team leader was even stronger. What Fei Luan said about the Umbra Academy was quite interesting. They only sent a rank 39 soul master. Her martial soul seemed to be a flying shadow ladybug, which was a concealment martial soul that could fly. She went invisible at the beginning of the competition, so the opponent couldn't detect her. She defeated 3 people from the Shadow Academy in a row. In the end, she was seen through by a soul master with the hyacinth grass martial soul and knocked out of the ring. This hyacinth grass martial soul was a rank 41 soul ancestor. This wind letter grass soul master caused the entire arena to be filled with countless wind letter grass as soon as he appeared. That flying shadow ladybug soul master immediately revealed himself, and even if he was invisible, it was useless. After that, the Umbra Academy sent out a rank 41 Chameleon Dragon Soul Master. The Chameleon Dragon Martial Soul was a sub-dragon of the Dragon-type Martial Soul. It was far inferior to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, but it had the ability to transform into invisibility. They could hide in various environments and wait for an opportunity to strike. Therefore, as soon as he appeared, he transformed his body into countless hyacinth grass. It was impossible for him to show his true form, which was very troublesome. Wang Feng found it very interesting. The Umbra Academy should be called the Umbra Academy. It emphasized on the word invisibility. They used all kinds of special martial spirits to conceal themselves and defeat their enemies. However, once there was a way to make the other party appear, it would be easy to deal with. Subsequently, Wang Feng also saw the Brutal Blood Academy. These members of the Brutal Blood Academy were somewhat similar to the ones from the Elephant Armor Academy. However, their entire bodies were scarlet red, and their robes were also imprinted with special patterns. It was similar to a tattoo. Most of their martial spirits were berserk-type beast martial spirit. When they went on stage, they directly entered a berserk state similar to fighting games, and then directly crushed their opponents with tyrannical strength. However, what was special was that even after going berserk, they didn't lose their rationality. Their battle thoughts were very clear. It was no wonder that Dean Fei Luan thought that this Brutal Blood Academy would be a very strong team. Soon it was the last match. Purple Star College and Blazing Academy. Apart from the 4 teams from Heaven Do City, the other 10 teams were very clear about the name of Purple Star College's 9th opening. Because the name was really too big. Even if it was a gimmick, it would still attract attention, let alone if it was real. Therefore, when Wang Feng walked on stage, all the teams that had finished their matches naturally looked at him with incomparable seriousness. They were also very clear about the name of the Blazing Academy. Moreover, this was an individual battle, not a team battle. They wondered if the Blazing Academy would bring out something new to make this 9th opening, who had created a legend in the qualifiers, suffered defeat in the first match? Wang Feng walked onto the stage. The first person sent out by the Blazing Academy was not Huo Wushuang, nor Huo Wu, nor the Fire Leopard Soul Master. Instead, it was the Martian Auxiliary-type Soul Master. Yes, it was the 2 Martian Auxiliary-type Soul Masters. Throughout the previous matches at the airport today, there was no such thing as letting an Auxiliary-type Soul Master take the lead. This really made people feel incomparably surprised. The first person to go on stage was actually an Auxiliary-type Soul Master with a Martian martial spirit. Even the people from Shrek Academy were a little astonished, and couldn't understand what was going on. After this Martian Soul Master came on stage, he directly lit up his 1,000-year soul ring and released a special flame on the ground. Third soul skill, Scorching Volcano. After releasing it, there was a faint flow of flames on the stage. It was very strange. After releasing it, this auxiliary-type Soul Master did not directly fight with Wang Feng, but admitted defeat. This once again made many people feel extremely shocked. This soul skill should be a soul skill formed by absorbing the lava fire tortoise, right? Wang Feng frowned slightly and seemed to have guessed something. On the back of the lava fire tortoise stood a small volcano. During normal life, it would store flames in the volcano on its back until it erupted at a certain moment. These two soul masters with Martian martial spirits had not revealed their third soul skills in the preliminaries. Until now. Immediately after, the second Martian auxiliary-type soul master went on stage. In the same situation, Huiyu Hao had used his third soul skill right from the start of the match before admitting defeat. He did not even give Wang Feng a chance to make a move. Even the referee was a little dumbfounded. At this time, the flow of flames on the stage became even more dazzling. The third soul master went on stage. It was the agility-type soul master with the fire crane martial spirit. Interestingly, after this fire crane soul master went on stage, he did not attack Wang Feng. Instead, he directly flew up and then sprayed a huge amount of flames on the stage. An even more strange scene appeared. The scorching hot flames that were sprayed onto the stage were actually absorbed. After a while, the fire crane soul master fell from midair. His face was a little pale, and he directly admitted defeat. The crowd was even more stunned and even a little dumbfounded. Similarly, the second fire crane soul master went on stage again and did the same thing as his brother. After spraying flames, he went down. Everyone could faintly feel that the temperature on the stage was slightly higher, but there was nothing strange. It was just that the flow of flames was more intense. Just like that, Wang Feng stood on the stage without moving and obtained 4 consecutive victories. But the crowd faintly felt that something was not right. End of this chapter. Chapter 380. I'm afraid this is a special kind of combination skill. The master frowned slightly. This kind of combination skill is very rare. It usually needs a certain amount of time to be used, but once it's used, it can't be underestimated. The previous 2 support-type soul masters were just the beginning. The soul skills they used can store fire energy and store it in the arena. It's like a volcano waiting to erupt. As long as it reaches a certain amount of energy, when the time comes, it'll be like an erupting volcano and pour into one person's body. It's equivalent to gathering the power of several people. It's really interesting and a rare combination. Take a look, this might be a combination skill that the Blazing Academy prepared for Jiui Kai. Everyone watched attentively. At this moment, the 5th soul master went up. It was the fire leopard. As an assault-type soul master, he didn't stay still like the previous 4 soul masters. Instead, he directly used his martial soul to attack Wang Feng. The power in his body flowed out crazily, as if he didn't care about his soul power. His soul rings lit up and he used 3 soul skills in succession. He was like a raging leopard running at high speed. He didn't hold back at all, as if he was determined to lose. However, if one were to pay attention, it would be easy to see that every time this fire leopard soul master landed on the stage, a ball of fire would appear with every step he took. It was like a ball of scorching fire, as if it was going to ignite the entire arena. Seeing this, Wang Feng frowned slightly. Black light condensed in his hand and formed a large iron hammer. Seeing the fire leopard soul master charging at him, he struck out with lightning speed and sent him flying with a blow of his iron hammer. At this moment, the fire leopard's body was scorching hot. Wang Feng didn't want to touch it directly. What if it ignited his entire body? The hammer formed by the mysterious underworld spike wasn't light. It was at least a few hundred kilograms. Under the hammer, the fire leopard's entire body seemed to change shape. The scorching fire on his body quickly disappeared, and he flew out of the arena. But when he was sent flying, all the fire on his body was quickly absorbed by the arena. This caused the fire on the arena to condense even more violently, like the surging dark clouds before a storm. The fire leopard's failure didn't shock the crowd. In fact, they faintly felt that something was wrong. The fire leopard's soul master's suicidal charge took Jiu Kai's hammer head-on. He didn't dodge, as if he was doing it on purpose. Until Fire Dance entered the stage. As a control-type soul master, her fighting strength was extremely strong. Although she couldn't compare to Tang-san, she was much stronger than an auxiliary-type soul master like Ning Rongrong. Most control-type soul masters actually possessed a certain amount of close combat ability. Furthermore, the Naruto martial soul was actually a type of beast martial soul. It was classified as a control-type martial soul because Fire Dance's control ability was stronger. Last time, you didn't make me use Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun, but this time, you won't be able to escape, Fire Dance said coldly as soon as she stepped forward. Fire Dance's dazzling light was her fourth soul skill. Normally, she would need 4 or more teammates to use it, as it consumed a lot of soul power. Therefore, it was impossible for one person to release it. But now, Fire Dance's face was filled with confidence. After the referee announced the start of the match, almost instantaneously, Fire Dance first cast a ring of fire towards Wang Feng, and then her fourth soul ring lit up. She raised her palm to the sky, and the flames on the stage lit up crazily towards her position. Fire Dance's dazzling light. Fire Dance shouted softly, and the ball of light in her hand grew bigger almost in the blink of an eye. As if it was released instantly, it blasted towards Wang Feng. Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun, which had a lock-on effect, was like a blazing sun. This time, Wang Feng really didn't have a chance to interrupt because Fire Dance released it too quickly. It was so fast that everyone was shocked. How can it be so fast? Could it be because of the stage? Tang-san was shocked. He had experienced this move before. At that time, the 4 people on the other side had gathered power for at least 6 to 7 seconds before releasing it. But this time, it was released in less than a second. It's definitely because of the stage's ground. The first 5 Soul Masters, starting from the first 2 auxiliary-type Soul Masters, turned the stage's ground into a ground that can absorb fire energy. The members behind didn't attack Jiu Kai, but used fire to gather power. Several people discussed. This special energy gathering combination technique is so strong. It's simply prepared to defeat a powerful solo soul master like Jiu Kai. The terrifying Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun shone on the faces of many team members, and they were all flushed with seriousness. This energy gathering combination technique is quite interesting. Wang Feng nodded slightly. It was indeed specially prepared to deal with him. It must be the Blazing Academy's trump card to defeat him. Using the special soul skills of the 2 auxiliary-type soul masters, they set up the stage's ground to gather energy like a volcano. Then, when Fire Dance appeared, all the fire energy would gather on her body, allowing her to release Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun at a faster speed. If it was a team battle, this energy-gathering combination technique would be somewhat useless because no team would let you use the ground to gather power for such a long time. But in a solo battle, it could play a huge role. It could even allow one person to kill the entire team. In a solo battle, there weren't many fancy tactics. One could only rely on one's strength. This was also the charm of a solo battle. A team battle was a battle of tactics, and a solo battle was a battle of strength. The opponent could use this energy-gathering combination technique to condense the power of all the team members and gather all the power on one person. It was indeed very powerful. Moreover, Wang Feng felt that this energy-gathering combination technique wasn't so simple. Looking at the huge fire dance of the brilliant sun. It was very large, at least about 10 meters in diameter. What a pity! Wang Feng shook his head and took a deep breath. A black light condensed on his right hand. A pitch-black long saber with a length of 7 meters condensed impressively. Break! Wang Feng's body moved forward slightly. With 1 foot in front and 1 foot behind, the saber slashed directly at the huge fire dance of the brilliant sun in a half-moon arc. A pitch-black light flashed. The huge ball of light directly turned into 2 halves and exploded in mid-air, turning into countless sparks that fell on the stage. All of a sudden, everyone was stunned by what they saw. Like bursts of fire rain, the battle on the stage was extremely gorgeous. Fire Dance was stunned for a moment. It was at this moment that a hoarse voice rang in her ears. "You lost, go down." Unknowingly, Jiu Yikai passed through the heavy rain of fire, and a pitch-black sharp blade fell silently, landing on her neck. Fire Dance clenched her hands, but the corners of her mouth hooked up. "You think you can defeat our blazing academy just like this? My Fire Dance of the brilliant sun isn't just to attack you. I admit defeat." After saying that, Fire Dance glanced at Jiu Yikai indifferently and walked down the stage. End of chapter. Chapter 381. At this moment, following the explosion of fiery dance of the brilliant sun, the fire on the ground surged even more intensely. It's reaching its limit. The explosion of fiery dance of the brilliant sun just now caused the 2 support-type Soul Masters' third soul skills to reach their limit. Grandmaster's face sank. Although 9 Open's fiery dance of the brilliant sun was stunning and domineering, Huowu clearly didn't want to use this move to defeat him. She just wanted to let her accumulation reach its limit. Huowushuang, who's next? I'm afraid there will be a big change. Tang San also faintly felt that something was amiss. Many other teams felt the same. At this moment, Huowushuang was the only one left in the blazing fire battle team. That feeling of unease still lingered in many people's hearts. 9 Opens had used an extremely gorgeous move to break fiery dance of the brilliant sun, but everyone faintly felt that it was even more terrifying. It wasn't that simple. At this moment, Huowushuang went on stage. The moment he stepped on the stage, the countless flames on the stage crazily surged toward his body. The horned fiery dragon martial soul directly lit up from his body. 4 soul rings flickered with dazzling light. However, Huowushuang's soul power fluctuations began to rapidly increase. From rank 45 all the way to rank 50. A full 5 ranks increase in soul power. The limit of soul power. Seeing this, the entire audience's breathing seemed to have stagnated. Apart from the increase in soul power, his aura and physique had also greatly increased. A scorching and violent flame aura filled Huowushuang's entire body. Powerful. Incomparably powerful. Huowushuang's current strength has already far surpassed that of a rank 50 soul master. I'm afraid there are at most 2 or 3 people here who can fight with Huowushuang now. His martial soul even has some special changes. It's obvious that he has absorbed the accumulated flame energy. Tang San felt a little shocked. Is this the Blazing Academy's trump card? The bigger it gets, the stronger it gets. The last one has gathered almost all the strength of the previous 6 people. Tang San felt that even if he had fire immunity now, he might not be able to win. Because at this moment, Huowushuang's arms and chest had already transformed into a half-dragon, and they were covered in dense dark red scales. There was even a single flame-colored horn on his forehead. He possessed overwhelming strength, and was no longer someone who could be defeated by a simple change in tactic. Huowushuang let out a low roar, as if he was spitting out a mouthful of hot air. He charged straight at Wang Feng. Soul skill, explosive flame king fist. Even the corners of Huowushuang's eyes seemed to be burning with flames. The scales on his arms glowed with a dazzling light as if they had locked onto Wang Feng. Wang Feng's eyes lit up. Instead of dodging, he threw out a punch as well. However, just as Wang Feng's fist was about to hit Hu Wushuang, a black light flickered on his arm, and the profound nether thorn rapidly formed an iron arm that covered Wang Feng's fist. Bang! A terrifying shockwave exploded from the point of contact between the two fists and spread out in all directions. Hu Wushuang's expression changed, and he retreated several steps. He felt his fist go numb. You, another soul bone. Hu Wushuang looked at Jiu Kai's arm that seemed to be covered with a layer of pitch-black armor. His expression changed drastically. Even a rank 50 soul master wouldn't be able to withstand the power of his fist. Furthermore, if he were to exchange blows with his opponent, the fiery energy on his fist would drill into his opponent's hand, causing severe damage to his opponent's entire body. However, his opponent had used that soul bone again. In the instant of the explosion, it had completely isolated most of the power of his fist. Even with his current soul power rank and powerful state, he couldn't cause any damage to his opponent. You're very strong now? At this moment, Jiu Kai suddenly spoke in a hoarse voice. Is it difficult? Take a punch from me too. If you can take this punch, I'll admit defeat. Is that okay? There's no need to waste time. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. All right. Hu Wushuang shouted coldly. He didn't believe that he couldn't take a punch from his opponent in his current state. Fourth soul skill, Azure Flame Scarlet Sun Body. Hu Wushuang shouted. The purple soul ring on his body lit up, and the horn on his head emitted an intense light. Under this light, the skin all over his body immediately swelled. His body grew taller by a few centimeters, and the dark red scales on his body almost covered his neck. Streaks of scorching light circulated around his entire body. His fourth soul skill could increase his entire state by 100%. It was his core soul skill, and was somewhat similar to Dai Mubai's White Tiger Vajra transformation, but it was slightly stronger. Then, I'm coming. Wang Feng smiled. He directly rushed over. His speed wasn't fast, and it was a very ordinary charge. He stretched out his hand and threw an ordinary punch towards Hu Wushuang. Seeing this scene, everyone frowned slightly. Such a punch, let alone Hu Wushuang, even a rank 45 soul warrior would be able to take it easily, right? Hu Wushuang was stunned. He originally thought that Wang Feng's punch would be very powerful, but he didn't expect it to be so ordinary. However, the next scene stunned everyone. When the punch came crashing down, countless black lights crazily gathered towards Wang Feng's arm. Almost in an instant, it formed a huge pitch-black iron fist. It was at least 5 times bigger than a normal fist. That iron fist was even bigger than Hu Wushuang's 2 heads. Such a huge iron fist gave people an extremely shocking feeling. Boom! The punch came crashing down. An incomparable feeling of power directly exploded. Hu Wushuang felt as if he had been hit by a high-speed train, and his entire body flew out. The momentum was completely unstoppable, and Hu Wushuang flew out of the stage. In fact, his injuries weren't serious, but the iron fist was too big, and the impact it brought was too strong. This 9-1 Kai is too cunning. Hu Wushuang couldn't help but think crazily, what the hell is that soul bone of his? It can be used like this. Finally, Hu Wushuang flew out of the stage and landed on the ground. This result was incomparably shocking. This 9-1 Kai is really cunning. His punch borrowed the huge impact and only intended to send his opponent flying out of the stage. He didn't care if his opponent could take it or not. But that soul bone of his is really strong. Ma Hongjuan's eyes sparkled as he watched. It's too damn cool. Let me count. How many forms has he used now? At least 10, right? It can be said to be ever-changing. And each of them can bring about a cool effect, and at the same time, they can also give a huge blow to the enemy. Indeed, 9-1 Kai's seemingly ordinary punch just now suddenly turned into a huge iron fist the moment it focused on He Wuxiang. It caught people off guard. Under normal circumstances, who would have thought that it would be like this? But no matter what, 9-1 Kai still won. Even if the Blazing Academy used this special combination technique, they still couldn't defeat 9-1 Kai. His legend seemed to be still going on. It will continue tomorrow, but the update time is not easy to adjust. End of chapter. Chapter 382. In the first round of the Blazing Academy's advancement match, the 7 of them had displayed unimaginable strength through their special combination skill. He Wuxiang and He Wu both had extremely strong one-on-one abilities. If they were from a normal academy, He Wuxiang would have been defeated by He Wu. This was because the third soul skills of the 2 auxiliary soul masters from Mars weren't as simple as they'd imagined. Wang Feng actually knew one of the biggest characteristics of this combination skill. It was the most efficient way to conserve soul power. This was because the ground could store soul power. For example, when He Wuxiang released Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun, although it didn't hit Wang Feng, it could still be absorbed by the ground. As long as it was a fire-type soul skill, it would be absorbed by the ground even if it didn't hit anyone on the stage. In other words, He Wuxiang and He Wu had an extremely strong ability to fight continuously under this combination skill. If they could fight for a long time on the stage, even if they couldn't win, they could still win by attrition. When He Wuxiang was on the stage, Feng Xiaotian's team was probably the easiest to fight among the 15 academies. Wang Feng obviously couldn't afford to waste time with them, so he sent He Wuxiang's huge iron fist flying with the mysterious underworld spike. Otherwise, he didn't know how long he'd have to fight. It was also because Wang Feng had increased the number of mysterious underworld spikes that he could form such a huge iron fist. However, seeing that even the powerful He Wuxiang had been defeated, many teams' fighting spirit had weakened. This was also Wang Feng's other goal. He didn't want to fight every match. It would be best if it was the same as the qualifiers. If they weren't strong enough, it would be best if they could quickly admit defeat and forfeit. He didn't want to waste too much time. As the curtains fell on this match, in fact, as Wang Feng had expected, many teams had already planned to admit defeat against Purple Star College. There were also some teams that didn't believe that 9-1 Shot could win the entire tournament by himself. After watching this match, most of them didn't have much doubt. When Wang Feng walked down the stage, he happened to see He Wuxiang and He Wu staring at him with unwillingness in their eyes. This was one of their trump cards, used in the advancement match specifically to deal with powerful soul masters like 9-1 Shot. They didn't expect to be defeated by 9-1 Shot like this. This was especially true for He Wuxiang. There was no need to mention how sullen he was right now. He hadn't even been able to display his full strength in the arena before he was sent flying by a single punch from Jiu Yi. I refuse to accept this. He Wuxiang stared at Wang Feng. His voice was low and filled with anger and unwillingness. He was indeed unconvinced. If it were anyone else, they would be unconvinced. The rest of the teams watched quietly and did not interrupt. It is indeed very sullen. We used our trump cards and accumulated the power of 6 people. However, we were all defeated just like that. Ma Hongjun watched from afar and chuckled. If it were me, I would also explode mentally. It was as if 5 people had gone out fully equipped and were about to engage in a battle of life and death with the other party, only to discover that the other party had stolen their base. It's really difficult to defeat a 9-1. Xiao Wu shook her head. If we want to defeat him in a one-on-one battle, I'm afraid that strength isn't the key. That 6-ring Soul Emperor Senior said that we need to drag things out to deal with opponents stronger than us. In order to make them attack first, we have to dodge. After all, he's alone. Everyone nodded and couldn't help but think of the teachings of the 6-ring Soul Emperor. It seemed that it was really unrealistic to think that one could defeat 9-1 in terms of individual strength. They had to play the role of a tag team battle and engage in a seesaw battle of attrition. In the end, they would exhaust the opponent to death. That was the correct way of thinking. Don't attack directly and don't take the opponent's moves. Blazing Academy's combination technique was indeed powerful. However, in the previous 5 battles, 9-1 didn't make a move at all. He was in his best state. Although you've become stronger, the other party hasn't become weaker. Wang Feng looked at Huo Wuxuang and didn't say anything. He just pointed at the 3 teachers in front of him. What he meant was that, if they were unconvinced, they could go and report it. What's the point of talking to me? Then Wang Feng left. Only the people of Blazing Academy were left behind. They stared at each other but had nothing to say. Pfft! These people of Blazing Academy are so stupid. What can they do if they are unconvinced? Do they want a rematch? On the side of Skywater Academy, Shui Yuer couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Sister, if we meet 9-1, will we fight? No. Shui Bing shook her head. We can't. We don't have many substitutes. I feel that unless we have more than 10 Soul Masters, we won't be able to exhaust him. I don't want to fight him either. It's too much of a headache. Yes, if they fought against 9-1, they had no idea what kind of moves he would use. There was a feeling of not knowing where to start. Even if you were strong, you couldn't do anything. Although Shui Bing-er's 4th soul skill had completely recovered, she didn't dare to use it casually. Otherwise, it would be too powerful and could easily kill people. Unless she practiced a lot to control the power of her soul skill, she wouldn't be able to do it. Not only Shui Bing-er, but more than 10 other teams also had the same feeling. Just like that, until the 5th day of the advancement tournament, the 3 teams that Purple Star Academy met automatically admitted defeat. There was no other way. The highest soul power rank among them was only rank 41. On the 5th day, Wang Feng met the Shadow Academy. And in the past 4 days, Shrek Academy's record was as consecutive as before. The one with the most victories was Dai Mubai. This was because on the 3rd day, Blazing Academy met Shrek Academy. Once again, Huo Wu used her special soul skill. Huo Wu used Fiery Dance of the Brilliant Sun 3 times in a row and sent Tang San flying. It was as if she wanted to vent all her anger from being defeated by 9-1 on Shrek Academy. This directly caused Huo Wu and Huo Wuxuang to go berserk. Although Tang San was immune to fire, he couldn't avoid the shockwave from the explosion of Fiery Dance of the Brilliant Sun. After 3 consecutive explosions, not only was Tang San sent flying, even Huo Wu was sent flying. It was clearly an irrational way of fighting. But fortunately, the 3 consecutive Fiery Dance of the Brilliant Sun emptied the energy stored in the arena. This directly caused Huo Wuxuang to be defeated by Dai Mubai. In terms of strength, Dai Mubai and Huo Wuxuang were both at rank 45. But in terms of martial soul quality and physical strength, Huo Wuxuang was slightly inferior to Dai Mubai. But Huo Wuxuang's attacks had a special burning effect, so overall, there wasn't much of a difference. Dai Mubai's victory was completely due to him exhausting Huo Wuxuang's soul power. This was because he was conserving soul power in the end, so he had about 30% more soul power than Huo Wuxuang. This made Huo Wuxuang puzzled. After that day, Tang San rested for 2 days. Huo Wu was also injured and rested for 2 days. In the Royal Hunting Ground, there were healing-type soul masters that could quickly heal the 2 of them. Until the 5th day. On this day, Purple Star Academy and Shadow Academy had their first match. End of chapter. Chapter 383. In these 5 days, the Shadow Academy also maintained a winning streak. Moreover, the captain with the Shadow Demon Martial Soul had yet to enter the arena. Just relying on a few members was enough to give many teams a headache. They were truly a strong team in the advancement competition. A strong team naturally had the dignity of a strong team. Shadow Academy didn't give up against Top 9. I feel that third brother is Shadow Academy's nemesis. I wonder what Top 9 will do? Ning Rongrong asked curiously. Her 6 companions already knew about Tang San's special ability. It wasn't a secret. He could see through Shadow Academy's special ability. After all, he had the purple demon eyes. I feel that the captain isn't simple. Tang San looked at Shadow Academy's position and saw the captain. The captain of Shadow Academy looked 18 or 19 years old. He wore a black shirt and had an ordinary face. There were a few special tattoos on his face that were very inconspicuous. Those who didn't know would think that he was a substitute. It's time. Ma Hongjun pointed at the arena. A battle between strong teams naturally attracted people's attention, not to mention that it was a top 9 match. Since the first day of Blazing Academy's match, Purple Star College's opponents all admitted defeat in the next few matches, which disappointed many teams who wanted to explore top 9's strength. Fortunately, this match was worth watching. In the first match, Shadow Academy sent out the flying Shadow Ladle Insect Soul Master, rank 39. Obviously, many other academies also saw that this was a test. Based on his observations over the past few days, this flying Shadow Ladle Soul Master was mostly used as a vanguard to test the strength of his opponents. People from Shadow Academy didn't like to talk. Wang Feng looked at this Soul Master. He wasn't old, probably less than 20 years old. His male appearance was ordinary. To be precise, Shadow Academy's Soul Masters were very ordinary in appearance and had quiet personalities. After the martial soul possession, this Soul Master directly disappeared in midair. This kind of invisibility ability was actually very interesting. Because he was wearing clothes, it meant that even his clothes could be invisible. Unfortunately, this kind of invisibility wasn't high level. It only hid the body and flew into the air. However, as long as the martial soul possessed the body, the Soul Master would emit soul power fluctuations. As long as he focused and used his mind to sense, he would be able to predict the other party's location. Unless the difference in soul power was too great, he would be able to dodge his opponent's attack even if he couldn't see his opponent. This was also the reason why Wang Feng had said that Zhu Zhuqing's clones could be easily seen through. Without a special method, there was no way to conceal the undulations of soul force from a Soul Master. This was the reason why Wang Feng's aura had been locked onto by the bloodwing dragon beetle in the Great Star Do Forest. Therefore, this type of concealment was very effective against ordinary Soul Masters. However, it was impossible for a high-rank Soul Master. Not to mention, Wang Feng's spiritual power and perception had been greatly enhanced after he obtained the black-hooded spiritual skull. His second perception soul skill allowed him to sense the opponent's information, as well as their location. After the other party turned invisible, Wang Feng did not waste any words. A black light condensed in his hand, and a cloud-piercing arrow shot down the other party. In just a few seconds, the flying shadow ladybug was defeated almost instantly. However, this was not out of everyone's expectations. There were a few rank 45 Soul Masters who were able to use the flying shadow ladybug's weak soul power to roughly sense their opponent's location after they turned invisible. There was no need to mention such a powerful 9-to-1. The Shadow Academy was not in a hurry either. They directly sent their second Soul Master. This Soul Master was very interesting. His martial soul was the purple cherry dragonfly. It did not seem to be related to the Shadow Academy. However, his concealment abilities were very strong. He was even stronger than the flying shadow ladybug. Rank 41. He was also the vice-captain of the Shadow Academy. His name was Li Xing. He wore a light purple robe and looked very elegant and easygoing. His face was clean and ordinary. When he went up, he even smiled at Wang Feng. After the battle began. Without any hesitation or nonsense, Li Ziying immediately possessed his martial soul. The 3 soul rings on his body quickly lit up. In that instant, he pressed his hands on the ground, and a pair of thin wings appeared on his back. Countless purple cherry trees grew from the stage. Purple cherry blossoms fell from the sky like rain. It was very beautiful. However, the entire audience was stunned. This Li Ziying was the same as the captain of the Shadow Academy. He had never gone up before. This was also his first time. It could be seen that the Shadow Academy placed great importance on the 9-to-1. However, his opponent's ability was extremely strange. I remember that the purple cherry dragonfly is a beast soul? How can he have an ability that only a plant soul can have? Dai Mubai said in astonishment. He doesn't have a purple cherry blossom martial soul? Indeed, looking at the stage, countless purple cherry trees grew in just a few seconds. It was like a world of purple cherry blossoms. Even their figures could not be seen clearly. This was an ability that only a plant-type martial soul could have, not a beast soul. It should be a mutated martial soul. The master said, the reason why the purple cherry dragonfly is called the purple cherry dragonfly is because this dragonfly only lives in the purple cherry tree environment. When it leaves that environment, its life force will be greatly weakened. If he absorbs the soul ring of a 1,000-year purple cherry tree, he will have an ability similar to a plant-type soul master. However, it is limited to the purple cherry tree. This type of martial soul has a lot of limitations. It cannot absorb other plant-type martial souls. If I'm not wrong, this purple cherry dragonfly soul master is able to conceal his soul power undulations in the purple cherry tree environment. Feel it carefully. The master was very knowledgeable and quickly explained to everyone. Soon, everyone sensed it and was shocked. I can't sense that purple cherry dragonfly soul master at all. Dai Mubai's expression changed. He created this special environment to completely conceal his aura. That's because those purple cherry trees have his soul power undulations. Therefore, it's very difficult to sense his position with just his soul power undulations. Everyone understood. If they couldn't even sense his soul power undulations in such an environment, it was even better than concealment. It was almost impossible to sense him. Fortunately, we have Fatty. Against such a soul master, we can burn him clean with fire. Oscar poked Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun's phoenix flames could directly cause great damage to such a plant environment. That's not necessarily true. At this moment, the master frowned and said, "You guys, there's a change in those purple cherry trees." Everyone looked and saw countless purple cherry trees growing on the stage. They suddenly felt like they were mist-like. It's voidification. Tang San said. He has a soul skill that should be able to make these trees voidification. They can be temporarily immune to energy attack. These purple cherry trees are no longer real, but their effects are still there. They can block the enemy's perception of soul power undulations. We can't sense his position accurately, and he's not afraid of being burned or frozen. It's obvious that he strengthened his soul skill to counter this weakness. After hearing this, Ma Hongjun withered like a frosted eggplant. End of chapter. Chapter 384. His soul ring combination is very strong. I wonder what his fourth soul skill is? I'm afraid it's an offensive soul skill. That's not right. Tang San suddenly said. Can you sense Jiao Kai's figure? Why can't I sense him? Tang San's words stunned everyone. Not only him. At this moment, many people were stunned. As the purple cherry blossoms danced in the sky, countless purple cherry trees stood up and decorated the entire arena into a purple cherry forest. Li Ziying had disappeared. Only the instructors from the other academies could sense him. The rest of the students couldn't sense his aura from the arena, nor could they see his figure. But Jiao Kai had disappeared too. Yes, it was as if he didn't exist in the arena at all. Even the instructors couldn't sense him, let alone see him. Flender, can you sense him? Lu Erlong frowned and asked, Your four-eyed owl's perception and soul power fluctuations are much better than mine. Everyone looked at Flender. However, Flender shook his head and said, I can sense that purple cherry dragonfly soul master. But I can't sense Jiui Kai either. In an instant, Tang San and the others were shocked. Even Dean Flender couldn't sense him? What's going on? Tang San's eyes flashed with purple light. He activated his purple demon eyes and countless energy flowed in the arena in front of him. But Tang San still couldn't sense Jiui Kai's soul power fluctuations. Gone? Was it also a disguise? Tang San was really shocked. What kind of disguise could completely hide one's soul power fluctuations? He couldn't see through it even with his purple demon eyes. Tang San was even able to see through the dragonfly soul master's disguise. At this moment, he wasn't the only one who was shocked. In the arena, Li Ziying was also shocked. His triple soul skill was able to create a small forest of purple cherry trees that could cover more than half of the stage. Using this illusory forest of purple cherry trees, he could perfectly conceal his soul power undulations as he hid within the forest of purple cherry trees and waited for an opportunity to strike. He did not know how to make himself invisible, but he could achieve a better effect than invisibility. In addition, he was wearing clothes similar to the purple cherry tree, so it was difficult to see him with the naked eye. And the enemy was in the purple cherry forest, so he could easily detect their every move. Therefore, under such circumstances, it was very easy for him to defeat his opponent. As long as his opponent's soul skill wasn't more than 10 ranks higher than his, he would be able to sense it clearly. There were too many ways to deal with his enemy. But now, he was actually unable to sense Hu Yuhao's position and soul power undulations through the purple cherry trees. Drops of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. This 9 open one, I've never heard of him having such a strong camouflage ability. Furthermore, is this a soul skill? Of course it was a soul skill. This was the Black Hoop Spiritual Skull's first soul skill, Misty Shadow. It was able to completely conceal Wang Feng's aura. To be honest, under normal circumstances, even if Wang Feng used it, it would not be very effective. That was because there was no place to hide. The arena was only so big. One could not sense one's aura, but one could see one's body with the naked eye. He did not expect this soul master to create such a large area of purple cherry trees the moment he came up. This gave him a perfect opportunity to hide. One had to know that once his misty shadow was hidden and concealed his aura, even a 60,000-year soul beast would not be able to sense it. If Flandra's martial soul possessed his body, he should be able to sense it slightly. At this moment, the arena was very quiet. It was as if there were 2 assassins hiding in the forest, preparing to deal a fatal blow to their enemy. It would depend on who discovered who first. Dong dong dong. Li Ziying seemed to be able to hear the sound of his own heartbeat. He felt as if his opponent was behind him. He turned around in fear, but could only see a purple cherry forest. He moved silently in the forest, using the purple cherry trees to hide his figure. But he still could not sense his opponent's aura. This was the strangest opponent he had encountered in so many years. He was even stranger than his captain. Right at this moment, a gust of cold wind blew from behind. Li Ziying had goosebumps all over his body. He subconsciously wanted to turn around, but he heard a low voice. Don't turn around. The moment this voice sounded, Li Ziying's 4th soul ring lit up, and he quickly turned around. Bang! He saw a huge force suddenly attacking from behind. He was instantly sent flying, passing through many illusory purple cherry trees and flying out of the arena. Seeing this, countless people's eyes widened. Until they saw that the person who was blasted out was Li Ziying, their hearts sank. 9-1, he won again. As Li Ziying was sent flying and landed on the ground, The purple cherry trees on the arena quickly disappeared, revealing 9-to-1's figure. The concealment ability that the Shadow Academy was so proud of was completely useless in front of 9-to-1. Didn't I tell you not to turn around? Wang Feng looked at Li Ziying, who had landed on the ground in the distance, and shook his head. Otherwise, at least you could still attack me. Li Ziying's defeat shocked everyone, but at the same time, they were also a little confused. They did not know how 9-to-1 had won. In the purple cherry forest, there was no battle, and then Li Ziying was sent flying. After a while, everyone thought that there was only one possibility, and that was that 91 Kai had approached Li Ziying without her noticing. For a moment, everyone was silent. If that was the case, it meant that the Shadow Academy had been defeated in what they were best at. With such a powerful concealment ability, they were unable to cause any damage to 9-to-1. Instead, they were unknowingly defeated by the opponent. Amidst everyone's silence, the captain of the Shadow Academy went on stage. Zhao Ying, Martial Soul Shadow Demon, rank 42 soul power. Up until now, no one had seen him make a move. 9-to-1. I admit that you're very strong. In terms of individual strength, you should be the strongest among the 15 teams. Zhao Ying was a very ordinary man. He was not old, had average looks, and was average in all aspects. As the captain, his soul power rank was not high. However, the reason why the Shadow Academy could qualify and be called a strong team was inseparable from him. But you can't beat me. Zhao Ying smiled. To be precise, I'm the one who restrains you the most. You have no chance of winning. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. The concealment ability that the Shadow Academy was best at seemed to be ineffective against 9-to-1. How could it restrain him? For a moment, everyone was extremely curious about this Zhao Ying. At the same time, after Zhao Ying said these two sentences, he did not say anything else. The referee gave the order. Zhao Ying immediately lit up his martial soul and instantly possessed his body. Yellow, yellow, purple, the standard soul ring configuration. A huge black shadow emerged from his body. Zhao Ying quickly hid behind the black shadow and disappeared. This shadow was about 3 meters tall and had 2 pitch-black claws. It looked like a human face and emitted a sinister and terrifying aura. It was the martial soul, Shadow Demon. End of chapter. Chapter 385. As the team leader, Zhao Ying didn't seem to use any concealment abilities. Instead, she directly revealed her martial soul. It seemed like she wanted to use force. Take this. First soul skill, Shadow Devil's Charge. Zhao Ying's voice seemed to be coming from all directions on the stage, and there were no energy undulations from the Shadow Demon's soul rings that had lit up after she possessed him. However, this Shadow Devil was charging towards Wang Feng. Very few people knew about the Shadow Demon martial spirit. They only knew that it was an extremely rare beast martial spirit. It was similar to Huowu's Fire Shadow martial spirit. However, there was a huge difference between them. Everyone shook their heads when they saw the Shadow Devil charging towards Jiu Kai. If they wanted to fight Jiu Kai head-on, Huowu Shuang on the first day was already the best result. Wang Feng frowned slightly. His palm flashed and a hammer was swung towards the Shadow Devil. Boom! However, when the hammer landed on the Shadow Devil, it seemed to hit air. There was no effect and it passed through the Shadow Devil's body. It was ineffective. Wang Feng's eyes flashed. This Shadow Devil seemed to be immune to physical attacks? Everyone was shocked when they saw this. Jiu Kai's hammer was formed from his soul bones. It was naturally very powerful. His hammer didn't have any effect? In other words, this Shadow Devil is immune to physical attacks? Tang San was astonished. No wonder he said that he was the best at suppressing Jiu Kai. Everyone suddenly understood why Zhao Ying would say such words. They couldn't help but stare fixedly at the Shadow Devil martial soul. Up until now, Jiu Kai had only used physical attack. Whether it was his fists or the various weapons formed from his soul bones, they were all based on pure strength. However, this shadow devil was completely immune to physical attacks. It was indeed the best at suppressing Jiu Kai. After the hammer missed, the huge shadow devil punched Wang Feng. However, this punch missed as well. To be precise, it passed through Wang Feng's body. Everyone was once again stunned when they saw this. No. His soul skill isn't a physical attack. It's a spiritual attack. Tang San's purple light flickered in the dark. He clearly saw that when this punch landed on Jiu Kai's body trembled slightly. Immediately after, Jiu Kai quickly pulled the two of them over, and there was a slight light in his pupils. It's a fear attack, Flender suddenly said. The shadow demon should be a kind of beast martial spirit similar to the aged remnant dream martial spirit, but it doesn't create illusions. Instead, after possessing a body, it attacks and causes the opponent to feel fear. It's a special kind of mental attack. If it was a normal soul warrior, he would have been defeated by that attack. Umbra Academy is indeed very strong. This Zhaoying, I'm afraid that only you, Little 3, can slightly weaken his attack, but you probably won't be able to do anything to him. The master also nodded slightly, agreeing with Flender's words. The Shadow Academy's captain's attack had shocked everyone present. Being immune to physical attacks meant that most of the soul warriors present were ineffective against him. However, the other party's attack was effective. He could be said to be invincible. Many people broke out in cold sweat as they watched. How were they supposed to fight? No matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be able to hit the other party. Wang Feng also watched with rapt attention. It was undeniable that this Zhao Ying was indeed very strong. No wonder he was the captain. Being immune to physical attacks meant that his mysterious underworld spike was ineffective against him. The external attachment soul bone could only be used as the mysterious underworld armor. However, the other party's attack wasn't a physical attack, but a mental attack. The mysterious underworld armor was useless against him. From the strength that he had displayed, this Zhao Ying seemed to be the one who was most effective against him. The attack just now had caused Wang Feng's spiritual soul to waver slightly. It was obviously a very strong mental attack. If he didn't have the black-banded spiritual skull, he wouldn't have been able to withstand it. However, there's no absolute immunity in this world. There's only relative immunity. There's definitely a weakness, Wang Fengxin thought to himself. Just like Tang San's fire immunity, he could only be immune to fire-type attack. However, he couldn't be immune to explosions caused by flames. Indeed, it was very easy for Wang Feng to defeat Zhao Ying. He could directly KO him with the Red Lotus Karmic Fire, or use the mysterious underworld Karmic Fire spike. Karmic Fire was the most effective against this kind of martial soul. However, Wang Feng couldn't use the Red Lotus, or he could use the Soul Killing Spear. The Soul Killing Spear's attack wasn't purely a physical attack. It could affect his opponent's spiritual soul. However, Wang Feng didn't want to use it in the qualifier round. How could he defeat his opponent when he was being countered? Wang Feng's heart stirred as he charged over once more. It's useless. Voices came from all directions. Second soul skill, Shadow Demon Whip. Countless vine-like whips appeared all over the Shadow Demon's body and attacked Wang Feng. However, they didn't hit Wang Feng, who was moving at high speed. Wang Feng dodged all of them. After that, Wang Feng leapt up. Black light gathered in his hands, and several weapons appeared. He threw them at the Shadow Demon. Swish, swish, swish. The weapons pierced through the Shadow Demon, but they didn't cause any damage. Everyone frowned when they saw this. The Shadow Demon was completely immune to physical attacks. Such an attack was useless. However, Wang Feng continued to attack. Several more weapons pierced through the Shadow Demon's body. His attack was still ineffective. Suddenly, everyone was silent. Aren't you going to use your martial soul? If you don't use your martial soul, you won't have a chance of defeating me. You'll only be wasting your soul power. Zhao Ying's voice came from all directions again. It looked like an echo. The shadow demon opened its mouth and let out a hoarse and strange laugh. No, you've already lost. Wang Feng turned around suddenly. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he threw it in a certain direction. There was only pure air in that direction. There was nothing there. Many people couldn't understand this attack. However, when the long spear pierced through the air, a blood-curdling scream suddenly rang out. Following this, a figure appeared in the air. She flew out and landed outside the arena. Everyone was stunned when they saw this. This person was Zhao Ying. Although your shadow demon martial soul is immune to physical attacks, you are not immune to physical attacks. Wang Feng said slowly in the arena. When you disappeared into your martial soul, everyone thought that you were possessed by your martial soul. In fact, you were just invisible. Then, you controlled your martial soul to attack from the dark. Your martial soul is actually a tool martial soul, not a beast martial soul. You can't be possessed by your martial soul. Yes, the shadow demon was very strong. However, Zhao Ying couldn't be immune to physical attacks. Without a beast martial soul possessing her, she couldn't be so strong. She was completely immune to physical attacks. This meant that even the strength of a titled Douluo was useless against her. End of chapter. Chapter 386. If that was the case, then he was almost invincible. But in fact, if this martial soul was so powerful, it was impossible for it to not have any reputation in the Douluo world. Therefore, this martial soul had a fatal flaw. The flaw was that it was a tool martial soul, not a beast martial soul. The most obvious difference between the two was martial soul possession. Only a beast martial soul could possess a martial soul, and a tool martial soul could not. When Zhao Ying disappeared into the Shadow Devil, the inertia thought that it was his martial soul possessing his body. In fact, he only had an invisibility ability similar to the flying shadow ladybug martial soul. It was very likely that it was the torso soul bone that allowed him to hide his body and even block part of the soul power fluctuation. On the other hand, he controlled the Shadow Devil, making everyone's attention, concentration, and perception on the Shadow Devil, completely ignoring him. Just like this, they thought he was attacking, but in fact, he was secretly controlling the Shadow Devil to attack. His voice was the same. His voice came from all directions, and it was easy to misunderstand that it was the Shadow Devil's voice. In fact, it was also a kind of confusing effect. In addition to what he said at the beginning, the most restrained chance is 9 to 1. It was easy to fall into the misconception that he was completely immune to physical attack. It had to be said that Wang Feng was also misled by this inertia at the beginning. He originally thought that the opponent's weakness should be that not every part of the Shadow Devil's body was immune to physical attack. So he used weapons to attack every part of the Shadow Devil. In the end, he found that every part was immune, and then he felt that it was too strange. Even if the martial soul possessed his body, how could every part be immune? This meant that there was no weakness at all. And this kind of Shadow Devil, Wang Feng suspected that even energy attacks were ineffective, or there was a large degree of immunity. That was because when he attacked, he discovered that the Shadow Devil was just a shadow. The sharp blades he shot out contained a terrifying force that could pierce through the air, and they also contained some wind attribute energy attacks. However, they were unable to cause any damage. Even if it was just a suspicion, it might not be true. The ability of this Shadow Devil martial soul was too strong. At this time, Wang Feng thought of a possibility. Maybe he was not possessed by a martial soul, but a tool martial soul. Zhao Ying was not in this Shadow Devil at all, but in the dark? Thinking of this, Wang Feng was awakened, and then used the Soul Bone's second perception soul skill to sense the opponent's position. Only then did he realize that this was indeed the case. If he continued to be stuck in this train of thought, Wang Feng wouldn't even think of using his skull's perceptive soul skill when his opponent was right in front of him. Furthermore, Huoyu Hao's position was constantly changing, and his soul power undulations weren't very strong. If Huoyu Hao didn't pay close attention, he wouldn't have been able to sense him. He must have some kind of special soul bone that allowed him to conceal himself, and at the same time, reduce his soul power undulations. When Zhao Ying landed on the stage, everyone heard Nine One Kai's words. For a moment, many people came to a realization. From the very beginning, Zhao Ying had been guiding everyone's train of thought to follow his train of thought. It could be said that he was very cunning. Now that Wang Feng thought about it, the people from the Dark Shadow Academy all fought as soon as they came. Normally, they wouldn't speak to expose themselves. But this Zhao Ying had immediately said that 9-1 odds was no match for him, and that he could restrain 9-1 odds. This obviously exposed too much information. Why would he do that? Because of this, the crowd was naturally puzzled. After seeing the ability of his martial spirit, they came to a realization. It turned out that his martial spirit was so powerful that it could restrain the 9 split. Then, he shifted everyone's attention to his martial soul. So that's how it is. The master was slightly enlightened. This shadow demon martial spirit is actually a tool martial spirit. It can only be used externally and can't be possessed. He has been misleading us all this time. I knew it. How can there be such a powerful martial spirit in this world that can be completely immune to physical attacks? Dai Mubai was also somewhat relieved. He has been misleading us from the beginning. Even my attention was on his martial spirit. Even if I used the purple demon eyes, I would only be looking at his martial spirit. I wouldn't pay attention to him. Tang San shook his head. The people from the Dark Shadow Academy are really hard to deal with. If we're not careful, we'll fall into their trap. This 9-1 odds is really powerful to be able to discover the opponent's fatal flaw so quickly. Who would have thought that the opponent would slowly lead you into his trap from the beginning? From this, it could be seen that the people from the Dark Shadow Academy were special. No wonder they could qualify with a low soul power rank and become a strong team. And it could be seen that until now, no team had been able to see through this captain's secret. Until they met 9-1 odds. Wang Feng walked down the stage. Zhao Ying had already stood up from the ground. I'm impressed. Zhao Ying smiled and said, I've fought 35 matches in the tournament and countless battles before that. No one was able to discover the secret of my martial spirit. They all thought it was a beast martial spirit. You're the first to discover my secret. However, even if you could see it, how could you sense my location? Yes, his secret wasn't just his martial spirit. There was also invisibility. From the moment he entered the Shadow Demon, he used his soul bone to conceal himself and greatly reduce his soul power undulations. He used his mind to control the Shadow Demon to attack. Normally, even if the secret of his martial spirit was discovered, it would be very difficult to detect him. Unless the gap in soul power was very large. Because this was the ability of the soul bone. Wang Feng smiled. They were both soul bones. He had the black-banded spiritual skull, a product of the system. It was at least 100,000 years old. The quality of the other party's soul bone couldn't be higher than his. Naturally, the other party's soul skill couldn't be stronger than his. Even if he couldn't sense it, there were other ways to find the other party's location. However, Wang Feng didn't say much. He only nodded slightly and left. Looking at 9-1 odds' back, Zhao Ying was deep in thought. This 9-1 opening was really not an ordinary level of strength. Zhao Ying hadn't seen the other party fight in the qualifiers. She had only heard about it. She didn't know his performance in the qualifiers. This was because the qualifiers couldn't be broadcasted or stored. At most, it could only be described verbally. Therefore, she didn't know in detail how this 9-1 odds defeated more than 20 teams by himself. The only information she found out was that the other party's soul bone was very strong. The information she found out was that he was very strong. Only now did she feel that this person wasn't just strong in terms of strength. He was also very intelligent. To be able to react so quickly and find his position under his careful guidance, Zhao Ying knew that she would not be able to do it if she were in his shoes. Just like that, following the defeat of the Shadow Team, everyone was amazed at the strength of the Shadow Team. At the same time, they were also fearful of 9-1 odds strength and intelligence. A person with incomparably powerful strength was nothing to be afraid of. The most frightening thing was that if he had a calm and clear mind in battle, that would be too terrifying. Evidently, the Elemental Academy already knew that 9-1 odds was such a person. As for the other teams participating in the qualifiers, they finally understood why 9-1 odds was able to defeat the entire Heaven Do City's qualifiers alone. Continue at night. End of chapter. Chapter 387. After Wang Feng walked off the stage, it was soon time for the second match of the day. The match between the Purple Star Academy and the Umbra Academy had caused many strong teams to retreat and consider whether or not they should avoid the battle. Whether it was Blazing Academy's special fire-storing soul skill, Shadow Demon, or the Purple Cherry Dragonfly, they were all not simple. But these two academies were defeated by Purple Star College one after another. Those things could be said to be the team's trump cards, and generally, they would not be easily revealed. But even so, they could not win 9-1. Many teams could not help but ask themselves, if we take out our trump cards, can we win? If we can't, it means that we are completely exposed. The consequence of being exposed is that if Zhao Ying appeared in the next few days, the secret of his Shadow Demon martial soul would have been guessed, and it would not be so difficult to deal with him. Blazing Academy's fire-storing soul skill was the same. Once the trump card was exposed, there would always be a way to deal with it. Wang Feng did not think so much, but he hoped that these academies could be more self-aware. Stop fighting, just admit defeat. If you continue, I will really have to take out something real. Wang Fengxin thought so. To be honest, although he did not remember the original story clearly, Wang Feng knew that Shadow Academy was not a strong team in the advancement match. And Blazing Academy was not exactly the same. Especially this Zhao Ying. At that time, Wang Feng's mind also flashed, otherwise, he might still be in the arena now. After walking off the stage, Wang Feng glanced at the other teams, seeing that their expressions were not too good. His heart relaxed. He estimated that in the following matches, these teams would not have any thoughts about him. After the match, Wang Feng watched the other teams fight. Most of the gazes fell on Tang San's team. Today, they were going to fight the Botany Academy. The Botany Academy did not have much to fight. Without needing Fatty to go up, Jing Ling, Huang Yuan, and Tai Long had already defeated 2 of the 3. Once Fatty went up, he took them all in one set. His current Phoenix Flames were not simple. The members of the Botany Academy basically did not have any additional fire-resistant soul rings, so they were really weak. Even the last Soul Master with the Scarlet Flame Thorns martial soul was no match for Fatty, and was defeated in a few moves. In terms of explosive attack power, Fatty was the strongest among the 7. Basically, once he used his 4th soul skill, his opponent wouldn't even have a chance to resist. The only one who could match his explosive power was Zhu Zhuqing. Therefore, the 5 plants were skewered by Fatty, which was a magnificent feat. As for the other 2 battle teams, Wang Feng took note of them as well. The Beast Academy was too easy for him. After being tempered by the Red Lotus Hellfire in the Ice Fire Yin Yang well, his body was already immune to most poisons. Tang San was in the same situation. Facing the Beast Academy was equivalent to having their combat strength weakened by 20%. There was no evidence. As for the other Brutal Blood Academy, Wang Feng was even less afraid. Wang Feng wasn't afraid of teams that liked to fight head-on. He didn't even need to bring out anything real. The dark nether spike could be taken away in one set. After watching the game, Wang Fengxian sighed with emotion. Then, he changed his clothes and went to the house where Tang San and the others were. At this moment, the discussion in the house was in full swing. "Fatty, you're really strong. 1 against 5. This was Oscar's voice. "Speaking of which, how should we fight against the Dark Shadow Academy? We can only rely on third brother, there's nothing we can do." A chuckle sounded, and Wang Feng recognized it as Ma Hongjuan's voice. Fortunately, 9 openings revealed Zhao Ying's secret today. Otherwise, we would be in trouble if we met them. This was Dai Mubai's voice. Wang Feng even saw the master at the door. These academies are not simple. The master saw Wang Feng coming over and whispered, "Fortunately, you met Zhao Ying today. Otherwise they would be really difficult to deal with." Wang Feng shook his head and thought to himself, there must be a way. By the way, where's little 3? Wang Feng stood at the door for a while and didn't hear Tang San's voice. Fire Dance from Blazing Academy called him out. The master said, 2 days ago, in the competition with Blazing Academy, that girl was too angry. Not only did she hurt Tang San, but she also hurt herself. She should be here to apologize. Hearing this, Wang Feng was a little stunned. He remembered that Fire Dance didn't have a strong hatred for Tang San like in the original work. There was no reason for her to do this. Could it be that because she couldn't beat him, she vented her anger on Tang San? If that was the case, it would be a sin. After chatting with the master for a while, Wang Feng saw Tang San come back in a hurry. "Brother Feng, why are you here?" Tang San's surprised shout made the people in the room quickly come out. "Didn't the teacher say that you won't participate in the rank advancement competition? Are you here to see us?" Tang San said with a smile. Before coming, the master said that Wang Feng wouldn't participate in the rank advancement competition and asked them to find a way to deal with him. "Yes, I heard that you were injured, so I came to see you and ask how you are doing." Wang Feng coughed a few times. Suddenly, he lowered his voice and said, "Little 3, you smell like a girl. Be careful." Hearing this, Tang San was stunned. At this time, Xiao Wu came over and sniffed suspiciously. Then, she walked closer to Tang San and whispered, "Brother, why do you smell like a girl?" Speaking of this, Xiao Wu's face changed. "Is it Fire Dances? Come here and tell me." Then, Xiao Wu pulled Tang San away. TSK, third brother is not lucky enough to enjoy the beauty's kindness." Ma Hongjun chuckled. "Captain, you didn't come. This rank advancement competition is as exciting as the team competition. Just now, I defeated everyone from the School of Botany by myself. After cultivating for so long, this is the first time I've had such a good fight." Wang Feng smiled and said, "Don't be too happy. Next time, if you meet a plant-type soul master with strong fire resistance, you'll be tied up like a turkey." Ma Hongjun, "Wang Feng, how long did you stay? Until we finished?" Ning Rongrong walked to Wang Feng and said happily, "Wow, I feel so bored. I can't go on stage. Although it's exciting to watch. Oscar and I have been frozen for a long time. Oscar even went on stage once." Towards the end, she sounded very wronged. "Isn't it to your liking?" Wang Feng said, "When did you become so battle-hungry? Aren't you the kind of person who will never stand if you can lie down? You want to stand after lying down for so long?" Ning Rongrong said with a smile, "Why don't you play with me?" Wang Feng glared at her. Of course, he knew what Ning Rongrong was thinking. She just wanted to talk to him alone. Chapter 388. I just came to see you guys and ask about your results. Wang Feng shook his head. Humph. Ning Rongrong pouted. Our results are pretty good. Dai Mubai walked up and said with a smile, So far, we have a complete victory. Only Tang San is injured, but looking at the situation, his injury is quite worth it. Tomorrow we have to face the Shadow Academy. Fortunately, Jioi Kai helped us in advance. No, he helped everyone find out the secret of the Shadow Academy's captain. Tomorrow should be easier. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Although Zhao Ying was very strong, if the secret of her martial soul was discovered, the opponent would be prepared, and it would not be easy. But she was still very strong because the opponent had a soul bone. I feel that there is a threat to us. There should only be Godwind Academy, Purple Star College, and Skywater Academy, Oscar said. Godwind Academy could not beat them, especially 1v1. Skywater Academy's team battle could be said to be ridiculously strong. Shrek's 7 monsters had to fight together to have a chance of winning. But in a 1v1 battle, they were very weak. This was because each of their strengths could only be fully unleashed in an ice and snow environment or in an ice crystal terrain. In this kind of 1v1 battle, only Xue Bing was strong. But she was only strong in one person, and she could not use her 4th soul skill. So the only real threat was Godwind Academy. Wang Feng thought that it was a pity that Thunder Academy in the original work was kicked out by Purple Star College. However, Wang Feng estimated that Little 3 and the others would not necessarily fight him. Because to be honest, with Jioi Kai's strength, it would not be difficult to beat Little 3 and the others. Plus, in a 1v1 battle, they would not be a match for him. Why don't you help me practice? At this time, Zhu Zhuqing came over and said. And? Ning Rongrong looked at Zhu Zhuqing, and a light flashed in her eyes. Wang Feng paused and shook his head. Finish the match? In fact, there are Little 3, Mu Bai, and Little Wu. You don't have many chances to fight, so the most important thing is to preserve your strength. Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Wang Feng, her eyes a little unfocused. Ning Rongrong breathed a sigh of relief. The group chatted for a while. Tang San and Xiao Wu walked over side by side. However, both of their faces were red, and they were quite far away from each other. Tang San, in particular, had a guilty look in his eyes. He did not even notice the pebbles under his feet as he walked on the road. Xiao Wu walked over and quickly pulled Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing to another room. I say, third brother, why are you so distracted? Ma Hongjun rolled his eyes. Did you guys just, no? Tang San woke up with a start. He quickly waved his hand and shook his head while blushing. Nothing happened between us. Wang Feng. It seemed like Xiao San was also a newbie in love. She had no experience at all. After living for 2 lifetimes, this was probably the first time, right? Was it, Tian Tian? Wang Feng walked over and suddenly asked. Brother Feng, how did you know? Tang San said without thinking. However, he suddenly realized something and shook his head. No, there really was nothing. Wang Feng sighed and said, Xiao San, you haven't even cleaned the red marks on your face. Tang San. Needless to say, Wang Feng had guessed it. Xiao Wu probably thought that something had happened between Tang San and Fire Dance, so she took the initiative to do it. They must have kissed. However, to Tang San and Xiao Wu, piercing through this layer of paper window was also a good thing. Inside the room. Oh my, Xiao Wu, what's wrong? Why is your face so red? Ning Rongrong touched Xiao Wu's face and found that it was unusually hot. Are you sick? No. Xiao Wu grumbled. Ning Rongrong rolled her eyes and said in surprise, You didn't do something shameful with third brother just now, did you? Her words made Xiao Wu's face turn even redder. Zhu Zhuqing also looked at Xiao Wu. It's not a shameful thing, Xiao Wu said shyly. Then what is it? Are you jealous because third brother went out with Fire Dance just now? Ning Rongrong giggled. Xiao Wu snorted and told her what happened just now. Actually, it was nothing. Fire Dance just went to apologize and nothing happened between them. However, Fire Dance's injuries were not completely healed and she almost fell down. Tang San helped her up. That's nothing. Ning Rongrong shook her head. It's not just that. Xiao Wu put her hands on her hips and snorted softly. I think Fire Dance is trying to hit on Big Brother. Maybe she fell down on purpose and took the opportunity to seduce Big Brother. So, just in case, You ate your brother. Ning Rongrong finished her sentence. Xiao Wu slapped Ning Rongrong grumpily. Of course not. It's just, Xiao Wu looked around and pulled Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing closer. I only kissed Big Brother. That was his first kiss. I can't let anyone take it away from me. Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing's expressions changed when they heard this. Ning Rongrong blushed a little. She suddenly thought of the night when they defeated Imperial Combat Team at the Great Soul Arena in Soto. While everyone was drunk and asleep, she took advantage of the alcohol and kissed Wang Feng. But she only kissed his cheek. Zhu Zhuqing's eyes were also a little shy. No, I can't let someone else steal Wang Feng's first kiss. Ning Rongrong thought shyly. How did it feel? Zhu Zhuqing suddenly asked. She was always quiet and rarely asked questions like this. It felt like I ate honey. My whole body felt soft, Xiao Wu said shyly. But it felt good. I can't tell you. You'll know when you do it with the person you like. Xiao Wu didn't shy away from saying this to the three girls. Zhu Zhuqing nodded and didn't ask any more questions. For the next few days, Wang Feng was happy to be idle. Almost all the teams he met along the way automatically admitted defeat. It seemed that they were very self-aware. Even the Divine Wind team didn't want to fight him, which made Wang Feng very satisfied. Originally, the Beast team wanted to fight him, but the first Soul Master found that poison didn't work on him and directly admitted defeat. The captain didn't want to fight. The main reason was that their martial souls did have a certain amount of poison, but it wasn't fatal. More importantly, it was a type of poison that reduced attributes. There were all kinds of poisons that reduced attributes like strength, defense, soul power, and so on, but they were all ineffective on him. If they couldn't reduce his combat strength, then they had no chance of winning and naturally chose to give up. The Brutal Blood team was the same. But the interesting thing about the Brutal Blood team was that they were really tough. They didn't say anything and directly used their ultimate. They were even tougher than the Elephant Armor sect, and their soul skills were almost the same. Their first soul skill was called Blood Rage. Chapter 389. Entering the Blood Rage state, the whole person's strength increased by 100%, the battle reaction greatly increased, the power of the soul skills increased exponentially, and the mind remained clear. This was the most powerful point, equivalent to a berserker still having consciousness after going berserk. Of course, it was not without disadvantages. After using it, the body would be weak for a day. But even so, the first member they sent was knocked unconscious by Wang Feng's hammer and directly gave up. Obviously, they didn't want to waste time, which really made Wang Feng feel very relaxed. Needless to say, the other teams. So Wang Feng just happened to be watching the battle from Shrek Academy. However, Wang Feng felt a little surprised that Ning Rongrong's gaze was always evasive, occasionally looking at him with bright eyes. He didn't know what she was thinking. Even Zhu Zhuqing was a little strange. Wang Feng didn't care much. Unknowingly, more than 10 days had passed since the advancement competition. Shrek Academy only had Brutal Blood Academy, God Wind Academy, and Shrek Academy left to fight. Today you are going to fight Brutal Blood Academy. The master slowly said, Do you have any suggestions or insights? Brutal Blood Academy had the best record besides Shrek, Purple Star, and God Wind Academy. At present, they only lost to Purple Star and Divine Wind. Even Divine Wind was almost overturned by them. Because Brutal Blood Academy's captain, Bao Yi, had a Brutal Blood Pterosaur martial soul, which was not inferior to Feng Xiaotian's mutated storm twin-headed wolf, and had extremely terrifying strength. The key point was that he could also fly. Therefore, Brutal Blood Academy almost relied on this captain to directly defeat the 6 members of Divine Wind Academy. In the end, Feng Xiaotian took action and defeated the exhausted Bao Yi. Wang Feng also felt that the battle was quite exciting. Brutal Blood Pterosaur was a really rare dragon-type martial soul, only inferior to Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon by a bit. To some extent it was even stronger. Because Wang Feng remembered that Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon seemed to be of a low level, and couldn't fly. Therefore, Brutal Blood Academy was very strong. Brutal Blood Academy's average level is 39, which is very high. If we let Tai Long and the rest fight, I'm afraid they'll be defeated very quickly. Tang San frowned. Teacher, let me and Mu Bai take the lead. With Xiao Wu and Zhu Qing, we should be able to defeat them. In the previous few battles, they had only sent out 3 people. Sometimes 2 people were enough. But this time, Team Cruel Blood was very troublesome. Although the lowest level of the other party was only level 37, only 3 of them were above level 40, and they were around level 43. Only the leader Bao Yi was level 45. But unfortunately, the opening blow was a little too strong. Furthermore, the other party had been directly crushing his opponents for the past 2 days. He had preserved his strength well. Obviously, it was to deal with the Shrek Academy. Of the 4 substitutes, other than Jiang Zhu, every other member of Bra's Blood Battle was stronger than them. Then how many do you have the confidence to defeat? Grandmaster asked. At least 2, Tang San said confidently. He was a control-type soul master and could somewhat restrain the Brutal Blood battle team. What about Mu Bai? Grandmaster continued asking. 2 at most. Dai Mu Bai pondered for a moment. I'll take 1. Xiao Wu thought for a moment. After they use the Blood Rage soul skill, their reaction is very fast and their strength is very strong. My soul skill can't be used well. She was only level 40. 2, Zhu Zhuqing also said. Grandmaster shook his head and said, Then let me ask you, who will take care of the last Bao Yi? Hearing this, the few of them were stunned. As the leader, Bao Yi only went up against the Divine Wind and Sky Water in these 10 over battles. Even the Blazing Academy didn't go up. But their strength was undeniable. They were directly against the Divine Wind battle team. Their soul skills were also of the highest level and were very difficult to deal with. At this moment, Wang Feng thought for a moment and said, Actually, Team Cruel Blood has a very big weakness. This weakness isn't just what you see. After they use their first soul skill, they will be weak for a day. In fact, there is an even more obvious weakness. Hearing this, everyone was stunned and looked at Wang Feng. You only saw them crushing their opponents after activating their first Blood Rage state. Wang Feng pondered and said, But you didn't notice that their Blood Rage state consumes a lot of soul power. Hearing this, everyone seemed to understand something. So, I suggest that you guys go directly against Jingling, Huang Yuan, Xiao Wu, and Zhu Zhuqing. Wang Feng said with a smile, It's very easy to defeat them. You don't even need to make a move. At this moment, Grandmaster laughed and said, That's right, do you still remember my 6-ring Soul Emperor seniors training the day before the promotion? How to deal with an enemy stronger than yourself. 1 drag. And this Cruel Blood battle team is the most suitable for you to use this tactic. Everyone was enlightened. Right, why should they fight with them head-on? And the last opponent, I suggest that you give it to Zhu Qing. Grandmaster continued, The reason is very simple, it's already evening. Today's competition was held in the afternoon. The first few battles were very long and they were the last one. Wang Feng told everyone about the weaknesses and the positions arranged by Grandmaster, so no one objected. Brother Feng, how do you know about this problem of the Cruel Blood battle team? Tang Sen asked. I've watched every one of their battles. They defeated their opponents with sufficient soul power. Even when they faced the Divine Wind battle team, they admitted defeat and retreated in time. Many times they still had soul power, but they still admitted defeat and retreated. So, Wang Feng said, it's precisely because they do this. After careful analysis and observation, you will find that they deliberately hide this weakness and problem. They don't want others to know and then drag them down. Hearing this, Tang San was stunned. Yes, they would never be defeated when their soul power was exhausted. Even if they couldn't beat their opponents, they would admit defeat in advance. Isn't it strange? No team has no weakness, just like you guys. Wang Feng said, only 5 of you have top combat power, and all of you are different. But if there is a special method similar to the Blazing Academy that can gather the power of 7 people at one point, you have no trump card to defeat them. In short, Tang San and the others didn't have a real trump card. Originally, Tang San's hidden weapon could be used, but it was forbidden. Even if Tang San combined his own Tang sect martial arts with his martial soul, it couldn't be used as a trump card. It was the kind of trump card that could defeat the enemy across a huge gap. This was also the reason why the Shrek Academy felt a little powerless against the Upper Nine. Because they couldn't come up with a trump card that could give them hope of winning. Tang San nodded silently. At this time, the competition began. Chapter 390. The first to go up was Jing Ling. As an agility-type soul master, she encountered a rank 37 violent ape from the Cruel Blood team. As soon as the match started, the violent ape used his martial soul to activate the Blood Rage soul skill and rushed over. Jing Ling only dodged, just like that day when she fought with the Six-Ring Soul Emperor. At that time, Jing Ling was able to hold on for 5 seconds in the hands of the Six-Ring Soul Emperor, which was already very good. After fighting for 5 minutes, although Jing Ling was a little injured, the violent ape had consumed a lot of soul power. In the end, he could only admit defeat with a gloomy face. He, who still had soul power, naturally couldn't continue fighting. Soon, Jing Ling met the second soul master, Violent Bear. This time it was even simpler. Violent Ape's martial soul could surpass Jing Ling's speed, so it could cause damage to her. But it was impossible for Violent Bear's martial soul. Jing Ling was almost uninjured and directly exhausted the Violent Bear Soul Master until he admitted defeat. However, Jing Ling had also exhausted her soul power. But defeating 2 members of the Cruel Blood team in a row made Jing Ling very excited. Next was Huang Yuan. As an assault-type soul master, Huang Yuan only delayed 1 soul master. The second soul master was halfway through and his soul power was insufficient. After all, his speed was very different from Jing Ling's. Isn't this too easy? Ma Hongjun couldn't help but say, their flaws are exposed. Is it so easy to fight? The previous Divine Wind team didn't have it so easy. When the Divine Wind team fought against the Cruel Blood team, they could often fight 1 against 2, but it was very strenuous. Moreover, they fought against the Cruel Blood team members with a high soul power rank. Now they were the complete opposite, using a substitute with a low soul power rank to fight against a high-level Cruel Blood team member. You can think about when you fought against the Botany Academy. Wasn't it easy? Wang Feng said. Ma Hongjun nodded. It was indeed very satisfying. However, if I'm not wrong, at this time, Wang Feng continued, the Cruel Blood team should have discovered our tactics. They may change their strategy. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They should directly increase Bao Yi's strength in the next match and won't give us any chance to delay. Wang Feng said. The Cruel Blood team members weren't fools. 3 of them were defeated by 2 soul masters over rank 30. His strength clearly surpassed theirs. If this dragged on, wouldn't they be left with only Bao Yi? As expected, the one who went on stage this time was indeed Bao Yi. Plans can never keep up with changes. Wang Feng shrugged and said, it's not night yet. If Zhu Qing goes up, she might not be able to beat this flying Bao Yi. Xiao Wu doesn't have a 4th soul ring, so she has no chance of winning. Everyone's expression froze slightly. Clearly, the other party had seen through their tactic. Therefore, he directly sent Bao Yi up. With such a huge gap in soul power, it would be very difficult to drag on. I'll go. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing walked out and said softly, I can do it. Wang Feng was stunned. He looked at her and coughed. The difference in soul power between the two of you is a little too big. The main thing was that Bao Yi's strength had increased after using Blood Rage. With the two added together, unless the moonlight descended and Zhu Zhuqing's strength increased, they would still be able to fight. Everyone fell silent. Zhu Zhuqing didn't say anything. She just stared straight at Wang Feng. The competition had a rule that before the competition, support-type soul masters couldn't use soul skills to increase their strength. Therefore, Ning Rongrong couldn't help her, and Wang Feng couldn't help her either. However, Zhu Zhuqing's gaze made it difficult for Wang Feng to reject her. That look in his eyes seemed to be saying, I want to fight. All right, come with me. Wang Feng thought for a while and brought Zhu Zhuqing to the side. There was no one around. He whispered, My golden lotus can increase your soul power by 4 ranks, but don't tell anyone about this for the time being. Wang Feng had never told anyone about this ability of the golden lotus. He had kept it as a trump card. It seemed that this 4 ranks of soul power wasn't very powerful. But if one imagined, it could also increase a titled Douluo's soul power by 4 rank. What kind of concept was that? Wang Feng felt that this was one of the most abnormal abilities of the Golden Lotus. It was much more powerful than healing injuries and recovering soul power. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing opened her eyes wide and blinked at Wang Feng with watery eyes. It seemed to say, I know. She was also a little curious, because she had never heard of Wang Feng's Golden Lotus having this ability. Okay, Zhu Zhuqing replied in a low voice. I'll keep this a secret for you. This was already the second secret. Actually, it's not a secret. You will find out sooner or later. Wang Feng shook his head. It's a secret. Wang Feng. Fine, if you say it's a secret. Wang Feng didn't refute. It was stupid to refute a girl. He secretly used his golden lotus to temporarily increase Zhu Zhuqing's soul power by 4 rank. Yes, it was only temporary. How long it lasted was related to Wang Feng's strength. Wang Feng brought Zhu Zhuqing back. Everyone looked at him strangely. Wang Feng, where did you go? Ning Rongrong couldn't help but ask. I told her some techniques to defeat her enemies. Wang Feng explained. Can't we know? Ning Rongrong pouted. Wang Feng gave Ning Rongrong a gentle smile. If he continued to answer, there would be no end to it. Looking at Wang Feng's smile, Ning Rongrong blushed. She snorted and didn't continue to ask. Grandmaster guessed something and nodded slightly at Zhu Zhuqing. Soon, Zhu Zhuqing walked up. The unexpected change in the Brutal Blood team made Wang Feng help Zhu Zhuqing a little. Whether she could win or not depended on her performance. After all, he didn't use a soul skill, but the ability of the Golden Lotus. Soon, Zhu Zhuqing went up on stage. Bao Yi was stunned. Bao Yi was a relatively sturdy youth, but he had a baby face which was easy to remember. At this moment, he was stunned for a long time when he saw a beautiful girl walk up. Because Zhu Zhuqing didn't fight much in the promotion round, he was naturally surprised, but he also frowned. The other party was a girl, so it wasn't easy to make a move. However, when the two of them fought, Bao Yi couldn't frown, because she was too strong. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing's soul power increased by 4 ranks, which was equivalent to rank 45. And this was the increase in soul power given by the Golden Lotus. The difference of 4 ranks was too exaggerated. It was on par with Bao Yi. Zhu Zhuqing, who was already very strong, didn't hold back after her martial soul possession and directly created a clone. Zhu Zhuqing could already completely grasp the method that Wang Feng taught her as a 6-ringed soul emperor, but it wasn't enough. Zhuqing controls a clone. Not only does it have 100% of the original strength, but the soul power consumption is also very low. The damage it suffers is also much lower. Tang San looked at the stage. It seems that Zhu Qing's soul power fluctuation has become much stronger? What's going on? Chapter 391. Although Zhu Zhuqing rarely went on stage, the other academies didn't know much about her, and they weren't clear about her soul power level. But as teammates, whether it was Tang San or the others, they naturally knew Zhu Zhuqing's soul power level very well. At this moment, they could clearly feel that Zhu Zhuqing's strength seemed to have increased by more than one level. Swish, swish, swish. Several pairs of eyes stared straight at Wang Feng. Wang Feng's eyes drifted and whistled as if it had nothing to do with him. "Why are you all looking at me?" Wang Feng was surprised. "Why, are you still not allowing Zhu Qing to hide her strength?" Everyone, the few of them didn't dwell on it too much, but looked at the stage seriously. Similarly, even Tang San and the rest were shocked, let alone Bao Yi. It was simply shocking. Zhu Zhuqing controlled the doppelganger, coupled with her terrifying speed. Even Bao Yi, who entered the blood rage state, couldn't compete with her. What shocked Bao Yi the most was that this girl's attack power was also ridiculously strong. The two doppelganger made him flustered. Moreover, because she only controlled one doppelganger, Zhu Zhuqing's control was extremely dexterous. This made Bao Yi unable to completely deal with the doppelganger in a short time. In addition, the doppelganger could also use soul skills, although it also consumed the soul power of the original body. But it was harder to defend against. At this moment, a pair of wings had already grown out from Bao Yi's back, and he flew into the air with sweat all over his head, temporarily delaying the attack caused by Zhu Zhuqing. Soul skill, nether stab. A cold light flashed in Zhu Zhuqing's eyes. "I can't hit you in the air?" As Zhu Zhuqing charged forward, the doppelganger beside her lowered its body slightly and raised its hands slightly. Zhu Zhuqing directly stepped on the doppelganger's hands. Then, the doppelganger raised its hands suddenly. In an instant, Zhu Zhuqing was like an arrow leaving the bow, flying towards Bao Yi in the air. Bao Yi was shocked. He didn't expect the opponent to dare to do this. Courting death. This is the sky. Bao Yi's eyes turned cold. He clasped his hands together as though he was condensing a ball of terrifying light. Soul skill. Cloud-splitting furious dragon strike. This was a move that required energy accumulation. It was most suitable for enemies who dared to jump into the air and attack him. This was because some assault-type soul masters were more reckless, and liked to charge at him when they saw him flying in the air. Although this girl's method was somewhat ingenious and she was able to attack him, as long as she was close to him, his attack would be completed and he would be able to knock her off the stage. At this moment, many people watched as Zhu Zhuqing got closer and closer to Bao Yi, who was in midair. They couldn't help but hold their breaths in concentration. "She's a bit reckless," Dai Mubai frowned and said. "Bao Yi is in the air, waiting for an exhausted enemy to use his soul skill. It's very dangerous for her to rush up like this." Not only him, but everyone else also thought so. It did seem a little reckless. It was difficult for enemies on the ground to deal with enemies in the air. Without the ability to fly, even for someone like Xiao Wu who had the ability to teleport, it was still very dangerous. "It's not that simple." Wang Feng smiled and said, "You guys have to believe in her. Zhu Qing is quite powerful. She must have her own thoughts. Think about it, if Bao Yi also thinks so and thinks that Zhu Zhuqing is reckless, isn't this the best time for him to let his guard down?" Hearing this, everyone was stunned. That seemed to be the case. Ning Rongrong pouted and thought, "I'm also very powerful, but Zhu Qing, you can do it." At this moment, looking at Zhu Zhuqing's attack and calculating the distance, Bao Yi's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light. He clasped his palms together, and the condensed light ball in his hands took shape. It instantly turned into a beam of light and attacked Zhu Zhuqing. The beam of light instantly hit Zhu Zhuqing. Seeing this scene, Tang San and the others' hearts almost jumped to their throats. "Look behind Bao Yi!" Wang Feng's faint voice sounded. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Then, they suddenly opened their eyes wide. At the same time, Bao Yi saw that Zhu Zhuqing was completely hit by his attack, and there was no joy on his face. Then, he heard a cold voice behind him. "Hidden moon slash." In a split second, Bao Yi was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. Wasn't she hit by my spirit skill? How did she appear behind me? Wait, could it be Shadow Doppelganger? He seemed to have thought of something, but it was too late. A flash of purplish gold light streaked across his back. Bao Yi only felt a huge force coming from behind, as if it was going to tear his back apart. Boom! Bao Yi fell onto the high platform like a huge rock. The audience was suddenly stunned. "It's Shadow Doppelganger." She rushed into the air and used Nether Stab to attack Bao Yi, making him let down his guard and use his spirit skill to attack him. When the opponent's spirit skill was about to hit him, she used Shadow Doppelganger. She let her doppelganger take the attack for her, while her real body appeared behind Bao Yi. Tang San was stunned. This seems to be the technique that the Six-Ringed Spirit Emperor Senior gave to Zhu Qing. Xiao Wu said in surprise. Bao Yi probably didn't expect that Zhu Qing had more than 2 doppelgangers. It's 4. At such a special juncture, she used Shadow Doppelganger to attack the enemy without any warning. Wang Feng's face also revealed a smile. Although he was a little nervous for Zhu Zhuqing, he could guess what Zhu Zhuqing was thinking. She rushed into the air, made use of the opponent's relaxation, and used Shadow Doppelganger to attack the opponent at the moment when the opponent attacked. There was no time to dodge. Bao Yi didn't have much spirit power left after taking the Hidden Moon slash head-on, so his defeat was inevitable. It could be said that Zhu Zhuqing already had a plan in her heart from the beginning, and it was executed perfectly. Seems like I taught her well. She learned very quickly, Wang Feng thought for a while. At this moment, Bao Yi decisively admitted defeat. Seeing this, Zhu Zhuqing's mouth curved up and seemed to be very happy. She couldn't help but look at Wang Feng as if asking, "How did I do?" Wang Feng nodded slightly. After all, Zhu Zhuqing already knew his identity as a Six-Ring Spirit Emperor, and she also knew that he was the one who taught her that day. Seeing Wang Feng nod, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes curved slightly. She walked down the stage. "Seventh sister, you're too strong." Ma Hongjun gave a thumbs up. This battle was quite like a captain's. "I didn't expect such a clever way to defeat Bao Yi, but did you hide your strength?" Zhu Zhuqing's face also revealed a smile and said softly, "You can say that, my hidden strength is not stable." After that, Zhu Zhuqing secretly glanced at Wang Feng. Something must have happened between them just now. Ning Rongrong vaguely noticed Zhu Zhuqing's gaze and thought, there must be a secret hidden from everyone. If Wang Feng knew Ning Rongrong's thoughts, he would be shocked. This girl's sensitivity was simply terrifying. "Your performance was perfect," Tang San also praised. Even if Zhu Zhuqing's spirit power had increased, Bao Yi had blood rage, and his strength had doubled. Moreover, he could fly, so he wasn't so easy to defeat. Tang San and the others didn't have the confidence to win. They didn't expect Zhu Zhuqing to achieve such a huge victory. After everyone congratulated them, today's competition came to an end. And tomorrow they would be facing Purple Star College. Chapter 392. In the match against Purple Star College, Master did not advise Tang San and the others to give up. On the other hand, Chang allowed them to give it a try. The reason was simple. Among the 7 of them, only Oscar and Ning Rongrong had not fought yet. The other 5 had already fought, which was why they were able to achieve their current results. They could not preserve their strength even if they wanted to. Why not give it their all? First of all, the tactics used tomorrow will be the same as today's match against Brutal Blood Team. Master analyzed carefully for everyone. 9-1 is very strong and completely surpasses all of you. Everyone nodded. This was indeed the case. So, we'll still use that word, the word drag. Master looked at Huang Yuan, Jingling, and Tai Long. What you need to do is drag it out for as long as you can. This was inevitable. Against an enemy who was far stronger than them, they had to drag it out. They had to exhaust their opponent's soul power as much as possible. I think 9-1 has a weakness. At this moment, Tang San suddenly said. Wang Feng also listened and was slightly surprised. What weakness do I have? Why don't I know about it? Seeing that everyone's gazes were on him, Tang San pondered for a moment before saying, thinking back, from the start of the preliminaries until now, Jiu Yi has been pursuing extreme speed in every match, striving to use the simplest method to defeat his opponent. His fighting style is not sloppy at all. It's decisive and short. Tang San was right. Wang Feng's fighting style was extremely short. He did not make a move, but when he made a move, he would definitely hit the target. He used the most effective method to defeat the enemy. This reminds me of Brutal Blood Team today. Tang San said, it's just that it's too short. It's as if he deliberately pursued such speed to defeat the enemy. All his matches, including the match against Tianshui Team, were very short from the moment he made his move. Everyone, think about it. His external attachment soul bone is so strong. Does it have no weakness? It's definitely impossible. Often, the stronger the ability, the more obvious the weakness. It's just that we didn't notice it, just like Brutal Blood Team today. I'm guessing that the external attachment soul bone can't be used for a long time. Either it's because of the soul bone itself, or it's because of my soul power. Even though my 8-spider spear has become stronger, I can't fight for long unless I use it to absorb the soul power of other soul masters. Also, the 9-1 external soul bone has two very obvious characteristics. The first is its weight, and the second is that it can change its form. How heavy was it? From the previous battles with the Elephant Armor Sect and Skywater Academy, I can tell that it weighs at least 4,000 kilograms. Tang San's analysis was actually very reasonable. Think about it. 8,000 pounds of weight on your body. How much soul force do I need to reduce it every second? If he didn't circulate his soul force, his body would directly bear the weight of 4,000 kilograms. This was a huge burden on his body. This kind of consumption is definitely not something a normal rank 40 soul master can bear. Tang San's eyes sparkled. Every word he said made everyone nod their heads incessantly. Wang Feng also secretly nodded. Little Three's guess was actually very close. Even if a normal soul master were to absorb the mysterious underworld armor, it would be very difficult for them to use it. Firstly, it was too heavy. Secondly, it consumed a lot of soul force, especially the mysterious underworld spike. The reason why Wang Feng directly sent Huo Wushuang flying with his iron fist was because he didn't want to waste time with him. Tens of thousands of mysterious underworld spikes were circulated with soul force. Even if each spike only required a sliver of soul force, it was still a very terrifying consumption with tens of thousands of soul force. A normal rank 45 soul master wouldn't dare to play like this. This was also one of the only weaknesses of the mysterious underworld spike. Wang Feng had the meteoric tier. Coupled with the fact that his soul force was compressed and purified, he had extremely durable soul force and extremely fast soul force recovery speed. Only then did he dare to play with the mysterious underworld spike. Otherwise, even a rank 60 soul master wouldn't dare to play with tens of thousands of mysterious underworld spike. However, Wang Feng could. Tang San was able to see this clearly, proving that he was very smart. It was obvious that he was very attentive to the 9-to-1 external soul bone. In other words, he's consuming his soul force every second. Tang San smiled. Every time we're on the stage, he's consuming more soul force than we are. Wang Feng nodded his head as he listened. He was right. Therefore, I'm sure that he can't attack for a long time. The longest match was against Skywater Academy that day. It was very amazing. However, I calculated carefully. From the moment he took the initiative to the moment he broke through the opponent's icy environment and terrain, it only took him about 40 seconds. Then, the limit of the 9-to-1 external soul bone should be 1 minute. As long as each of us can last 10 to 15 seconds on the stage. At this point, Tang San revealed a confident smile. He'll definitely lose. Clap, clap, clap. Wang Feng was the first to applaud. Well said. Grandmaster. Tang San was actually thinking in a big direction. If a normal rank 45 soul master used the mysterious underworld armor on the stage, it would probably take about 30 seconds. That would be the limit. If he used tens of thousands of mysterious underworld spikes, like the huge iron fist that Wang Feng formed, his soul force would probably be exhausted before he could use it. Also, his body wouldn't be able to bear it. Unfortunately, Wang Feng was different. His body was too strong. Even if he could bear the weight of the mysterious underworld armor, he wouldn't feel any burden. The strength of a first-grade soul master was no joke. The consumption of soul force to use the mysterious underworld armor was almost nothing to Wang Feng. Why? Because he had the meteoric tier, and his normal soul force recovery speed was enough for him to use the mysterious underworld armor. If he used it, according to the number of mysterious underworld spikes used, Wang Feng could fight for a long time. Unless he used tens of thousands of mysterious underworld spikes, he might not be able to last long. However, a few minutes was no problem. In all fairness, Tang San's analysis was accurate enough. However, since Little 3 already has a plan, we'll follow this strategy tomorrow. The master glanced at Wang Feng. For each of you, Tai Long, Jingling, and Huang Yuan's time requirements can be lowered, but for Mu Bai, Xiao Wu, Hong Jun, Zhu Qing, and Xiao San, try your best to achieve between 10 and 15 seconds. Alright, let's rest. There are only 2 matches left. The next day. The second last day of the qualifier round. On this day, the team's rankings were very clear. The first tier, Purple Star College, Shrek, Divine Wind, and so on. The second tier, Cruel Blood, Jihua, Tianshui, Anying, and so on. The third tier, Exotic Beasts, Balak, Botany, and so on. The tier didn't change much. The only thing that changed was the ranking of each tier. Purple Star and Shrek were both in first place with consecutive victories. Although it was only the second last day of the qualifier round, it was even more attractive. Because Purple Star and Shrek were facing off against each other. Moreover, Shrek Academy didn't choose to admit defeat. Although they gave up once in the qualifier round, they obviously wouldn't do it this time. Chapter 393. This day's arrangement seemed to lean towards Shrek Academy's side as it was the last match. This meant that this match would be near the evening. At that time, Zhu Zhuqing's strength would be greatly improved. Therefore, Tang San suggested that the Grandmaster arrange for Zhu Zhuqing to be the last, hoping that she would be able to deal a fatal blow to 9-1. However, this time, Wang Feng didn't choose to help Zhu Zhuqing. The first 6 matches didn't end quickly. By the time they were done, the sky had already darkened. Many torches had been erected around the martial arts practice field, illuminating the entire martial arts practice field. The last match was about to begin. 9-1 slowly walked onto the stage. After a few days, many members of the academy were slightly dazed when they saw 9-1 again. They didn't fight in the qualifiers, but the 2 teams finally met. Ning Fengji sighed in the front row. I wonder what kind of sparks will erupt between them? Bishop Salas didn't seem to have any intention of arguing with Ningfengji. He just narrowed his eyes and waited quietly for the match to begin. On the other hand, the Snowy Knight Emperor was a little interested as he said, "Everyone from Shrek Academy is very strong. Among the other teams, their strength is the most average. 8 against 1, this will be a tough battle for 911. Ningfengji nodded slightly. The pace of the qualifiers was very fast. They had been watching it for more than 10 days. This was especially so for the last match. Purple Star College only had 911. There was no need for any personnel to be transferred, and there was no need for discussion. This greatly sped up the time. Anyway, as long as you could beat 911, you would win. Shrek Academy sent out Tai Long first. Wang Feng smiled. He recalled the time when he was a 6-ringed Soul Emperor and taught a few people before the qualifiers. However, his strength at that time was different from now. Now, Wang Feng was using first gear and mysterious underworld armor, so it was hard to tell. A 6-ringed Soul Emperor was at least second gear because Void Mirror could only be used at second gear. Tai Long wasn't as reckless as before. After entering the arena with his martial soul possession, he looked at Wang Feng with a look that said, "I want to drag you down." According to Tang San's train of thought, he had to attack if he had a 9-1 chance. Because if he did not attack and just stood there, his energy consumption would be far greater than Tai Long's. The one who would be at a disadvantage would always be the 9-1 chance. Therefore, the one who initiated the attack would definitely be 9-1. The truth was not wrong. Wang Feng was indeed taking the initiative to attack. Without another word, Wang Feng charged towards Tai Long. Wang Feng didn't even need to use the mysterious underworld spike to deal with Tai Long, who was a pure strength-type soul master. Drag? How can it be so easy to drag things out? Wang Fengxin thought. His speed was so fast that Tai Long could not react in time. In just a few blinks of an eye, Wang Feng was already beside him. However, Tai Long's purple soul ring also lit up at this moment. Third soul skill, Immovable Mountain. Tai Long let out a loud roar, and the muscles all over his body swelled again. As if he was riding a horse, both of his feet were slightly embedded into the arena, leaving a footprint that was visible to the naked eye. Immovable Mountain was a skill that allowed him to stand like a mountain peak. As he took root in the ground, it was difficult for his enemies to shake him. It was a soul skill that allowed him to defend while waiting for an attack. Right now, he was using it to resist a few of 9-1's attacks. He would resist as many attacks as he could. Wang Feng punched Tai Long's chest. The immense strength caused Tai Long to be unable to stabilize himself in the arena, and he was forced to take more than 10 steps back. From this, one could see how powerful a pure strength-type soul master was. Although Wang Feng had held back some of his strength in this punch, even Dai Mubai would be sent flying. As Tai Long retreated, he glanced at Wang Feng from the corner of his eye. When he realized that this punch was not enough to send him flying, he was delighted. Following this, he took a deep breath and planned to stabilize himself before using Immovable Mountain again. Although his third soul skill consumed a lot of energy, it was not a problem for him to use it a few times. However, at this moment, Wang Feng laughed. As he looked at Tai Long, who was retreating, he swung his palm. Several streaks of black light appeared. However, these streaks of black light did not land on Tai Long's body. Instead, they landed precisely where Tai Long was retreating, as if they were equipped with a navigation system. Tai Long felt as if he had stepped on something slippery. His body, which was already under control, suddenly staggered. It was as if he had stepped on a banana peel, and he fell to the ground. Boom! His huge body fell to the ground, causing the arena to tremble. This caused countless people to be stunned. They did not understand how Tai Long had fallen. As they were puzzled, everyone focused on Tai Long. They realized that Tai Long had stepped on a special shoe. There were a few round wheels under the shoe. Everyone was speechless. Tyrone's huge body fell to the ground with a loud crash. He only lasted for less than 5 seconds before he was defeated. The shoe that was formed by the mysterious underworld spike was called a pulley shoe. Tai Long had stepped on it when he was retreating. Even under normal circumstances, he would have fallen if he had stepped on it. My mysterious underworld spike can not only be used as a tool for myself. Wang Fengxian thought to himself. In my hands, the mysterious underworld spike is a tool to defeat the enemy. In the hands of the enemy, it is a hindrance. This was what Wang Feng had been thinking about these days. Sometimes, the more he felt that he had unearthed all the abilities of the mysterious underworld spike, the more he felt that it was too useful. Logically speaking, Wang Feng felt that the mysterious underworld spike was really tailor-made for him. To put it bluntly, even if the mysterious underworld spike was given to anyone in the Douluo world, they would not be able to use it as well as he did. Because he came from the modern era, the things he could imagine were unimaginable by the humans of the current Douluo world. For example, during the qualifiers against Skywater Academy, the speed skating blades formed under his feet. The more imaginative a soul master was, the more powerful the mysterious underworld spike would be. Everyone who saw this scene was silent. Especially Tang San and the others. They thought that Tai Long would be able to hold on for at least 10 seconds. After all, if he was only defending, it would not be easy to knock him out of the arena in a short time. Unless Jiu Yi used the huge hammer he used to fight Hu Wushuang on the first day. But in that case, the other party would consume a lot of soul power. They were hoping that Jiu Yi would do that. But no one expected that Jiu Yi would only use one punch and use his soul bone to form a special shoe to defeat Tai Long. He was defeated even faster than when he fought against the 6-ringed Soul Emperor. Soon, they did not have much time to think. The second person was Jing Ling. As an agility-type soul master, Jing Ling did not have Tai Long's strength or special defensive skills. She could only rely on her speed to dodge. Unfortunately, there was still a big gap between her speed and Jiu Yi's. But Jing Ling had a very powerful soul skill. Third soul skill, bone softening. It could cause the bones in the body to soften and become elastic. It could remove most of the enemy's power and at the same time increase the sensitivity by 100%. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.